and the twilight lies gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket trembling, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, traitors that star-spangled banner, yeah, wave for the land of the brave, and the home of the brave. Because we are the brave. Yes, we are the brave. We'll fight you in the name of the brave. We are the US of A. For those unaware, that flag is still there. It's your future to save. The land of the brave, the US of A. Oh, traitors that star-spangled banner, yeah, wave for the land of the brave, and the
In as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Good evening, my fellow patriots. It is October the 22nd, Tuesday evening, 9 p.m. We meet here every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Sorry about that. I had a little glitch. This is Jeff Norton of the Midnight Patriot. We got a very special show for you guys lined up for you tonight. One of the things that we did when we started the Midnight Patriot is we wanted to bring experts. We wanted to bring individuals to the show who could kind of, lend a little bit of expertise and everything. And we've got that lined up for you tonight. Tonight we have author Jake Danishevsky joining us here after we come back from our break. He is he's an author, wrote a book about his experiences in communist Russia, and and how he's seeing America transform and some of the warning signs. So he's going to share that inside knowledge with us. Now, one of the things that we do on the show, we start every show off for those new listeners, and it's very important that we talk. And I just want to say, you know, it's phenomenal. We are doubling our listeners every day. Our website is doubling in traffic every day. So the message is getting out there. So all of you fellow patriots who are sending people to www.themidnightpatriot.com to listen to our shows, I just want to say thank you. It's working. Our message is getting out there. The feedback that I'm getting is phenomenal. One of the things, our intro music, I do have to give a shout out to Madison Rising. They are officially, as of today, our official music, bumper music provider. You know, go out to their website, madisonrising.com. Download their music. They have a CD out. They do tour. They've been on Glenn Beck. They've been on a lot of the conservative shows out there, and we are honored and privileged that they are allowing us to use their music in our show or during our show. And so once again, if, you know, that song Star Spangled Banner was sung by Madison Rising. Go out to their website at madisonrising.com. Now, we do a segment before we start every show to honor those soldiers, those men and women who put on this nation's uniform. And we're serious about this, is that if you are a veteran, a family member of a veteran, active duty, retired, disabled, or a family member of a veteran who's paid the ultimate price, and you need help and you need someone to talk to, you can always reach out to the Midnight Patriot. We're here. Our family's here for you. We have several members who are patriots in the patriot community who are also former military, ex-military, current military. And we can get you the help that you need. Life is not, you know, it is better. It can be better. And we just want to let you know that we, you know, our hearts and our prayers go out to you and your family. And this section is dedicated to you. We want to make sure that we start our show off, every show that we do, honoring those who have paid the ultimate price for our freedom. Army Staff Sergeant Patrick H. Quinn, October 13th, 2013. Army Sergeant Patrick C. Hawkins, October 6th, 2013. Army Captain Jennifer M. Marino, October 6th, 2013. Army Private First Class Cody J. Patterson, October 6th, 2013. Army Sergeant Joseph M. Peters, October 6th, 2013. Lance Corporal Jeremiah M. Collins, Jr. of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, October 5th, 2013. Army Specialist Angel L. Lopez, October 5th, 2013.
Amen to the ones on the battlefield. Amen to those who Somebody, sister or brother, a mother, daughter, father, or
That's right. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot. All the music here, you know, we actually talked to Madison Rising today. It's official. They are our official bumper music and official music of the Midnight Patriot. So that was Madison Rising. If you want to listen to more of the music, go out to madisonrising.com. Now we are scheduling, this is a special treat. I won't tell you what day, but I will tell you that the band will be on the show, hopefully sometime next week. We're putting together a little special show for you guys next week and everything. So let's get back to the point of hand. You know, we're just, you know, the nice thing about having your own broadcast is we can control what we do here. We had a little glitch at the beginning. I know we're running a little bit behind schedule, so I'm just going to get rid of the commercial break that we normally do and go right into this segment. So as I said earlier, we have a very special guest. He's an author, wrote a book. I'm going to let you tell you about the book a little bit more as we bring him on. But Jake Danish-Veski, and I hope I didn't get that name too brutally wrong and stuff. Jake, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Thanks for getting me on the show, and I want to thank you and your listeners for the time that you're going to give me and honor me a privilege to speak.
Oh, come on! It's our honor. You know, we'll do the kudos all the way around and stuff. It is our honor because, you know, we were talking last week, and when I started this show, the whole purpose of the show was to give a voice to the Patriot movement, and you know, we're doing that. I mean, our shows are just going crazy right now. We're doubling our listenership, our web page going. I mean, we're having to constantly refine and upgrade our website because to handle all the traffic that we're getting. And so that's and the only reason why we're doing it is because we got guests on the show like you. So I, thank you very much for being a participant and also being a patriot. So, let's just kind of start. Let's kind of give our audience, I know your background. Obviously we've talked and I've read, read your bio and started to read the book and everything. And I have to apologize. I didn't get all the way through it. Just been so busy with the studio upgrades. But, let's kind of give our audience, let's show them, tell them your background first. Let's start there.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Jeff. As you already mentioned, I was born in the Soviet Union, and my family moved here in 1979. We basically left the oppressive Soviet regime, and when I talk about Soviet regime, I'm not talking about it like just to warn people, but I want people to truly understand what it is that we had to go through, and not just us. I mean, ours is just one of millions of stories, but I have seen things with my own eyes. Even as a child, you start to realize that this is a society that you really do not want to be part of. I mean, you don't know any better, so you just accept it. And a lot of people ask me, why is it people took it and just lived the way they did? Well, what choice do you have? I mean, you live in this society. You're literally taught from the childhood to accept it. And your parents tell you not to repeat anything in school. Not to mention, there's not much to repeat because your parents are even afraid to speak in front of you, even if they don't like something, because God forbid the word gets out or somebody says something. So, I mean, a lot of American people truly do not understand what type of society that we have now in America and what type of society that we're looking to have if we keep going in this direction. I mean, people do not realize their basic freedoms. And I'm not talking about freedoms to run around or do things, just basic freedoms, just be able to speak, be able to listen, be able to express yourself and tell your children how you feel as opposed to how you think somebody wants you to feel. I mean, these basic principles, people just don't seem to understand or even appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we haven't gotten to the point here in the United States where we got to go in the closet and talk to each other. I think we're getting that point. I mean, obviously the TSA announced that they're actually going to start investigating you before you, days before you even get on the plane and stuff. I mean, we haven't got to that point yet, but, I think it's critical. We are starting to see the restriction of movement in this country. I had some friends, in my former life, we used to travel a lot. And I've had some friends actually who we had to do a business trip, and they weren't allowed to get on the airplane. And these are ex-military individuals. These are people that have, security, literally had security clearances. This one friend in particular had a security clearance, and he was on the TSA no-fly list. And it was amazing that he got on this list. And I know darn well he's not a terrorist, but he was an advisor. Lived in this country all his life, and he just happened to have a name that sounded foreign, I guess. But he was on the list. It was amazing, and that's what we're starting to see, and everything, and let's go to Russia. America of late, we are seeing a romanticism of Russia in our movies, in our, and it's a beautiful country from what I've seen and everything. The history is incredible, and everything, but we're starting to see where it's more of an embracement. And then, like just the other day, they were talking about Putin. I hear a lot of patriots, and it kind of upsets me in my stomach when I hear this, that they're, Putin, is a great leader kind of thing. And I believe, was he still head of the KGB when you were there in '79?
Well, no. When we left '79, I think he was in KGB at the time. I mean, you didn't hear much about him because he was probably going through his ranks. At the time, the head of KGB was Andropov, and when we left, a few years later, if you remember, Andropov became a prime minister of Soviet Union, Soviet Russia, and basically, Putin is a great leader. So was Hitler. So was Stalin. I mean, you want to go through great leaders who actually led the country or controlled the country. I mean, which way do you want to look at the leaders? I mean, Napoleon was a great leader too. I mean, a lot of monsters were really good leaders.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's that cult of personality that I talk about, is that, in order to get the masses to do what you want to do, to manipulate them to do the horrific things that your government and also society allows to happen, you absolutely have to have a charismatic leader, and I think Putin definitely has that. And like Obama, what scares me or what concerns me is when I hear like the Nazi Germany, I hear people that I talk to and openly admit that they, Obama, yeah, he's, a little shit, they talk like it, but yet they won't, but when it comes down to not, brass tacks or the truth and stuff, they're like, well, I still believe in him. And if you look in history and you look at all of these dictators, I mean, that's a common thread. The people know there's something wrong, and they'll admit there's something, but they won't take that, they won't, for some reason, they're just frozen when it comes to action and everything. And I'm sure that this has got to be a scary time for you because, Americans, we don't know what oppression looks like. We think we do, but we really don't. You growing up in it with that fear, as a child growing up in Russia during that time of change, I'm sure that this has got, and you seeing this in the United States, this has got to be a scary moment for you and your family.
It is, Jeff, absolutely. I mean, people watched a few movies, people saw a few pictures, people read a few instances in history, but to truly understand it, I mean, you don't really think about it on a daily basis because you get so used to it. I mean, just imagine this. I'll draw a picture in your head if you want to close your eyes. You're born into a society, and as you're growing up, you're learning the songs about Lenin, about Stalin, about the revolution. You're learning that this society is great. There is no other society that could be better. Capitalism destroys lives. It kills people. I mean, big businesses, they don't help people. They destroy people. The reason you don't have enough in Russia is because of those capitalistic Americans, and it's their fault. It's always their fault. And your leaders want to do better for you, so you have this great life, but you're not allowed to dislike your life because it's so good. I mean, it almost sounds like one of the books from George Orwell, but in reality, he was writing exactly about those societies that exist. I mean, this society that you said romanticism with socialism, I mean, people dream about this utopian society where everybody is absolutely equal. The only problem is human nature is not to be equal. Human nature is to be an individual. Even those who preach equality, they want individualism. Look at Obama. His stake, his income went up over 10 times from the time he took office. So now this is a guy who preaches to his following, to those who listen to him. And Lenin used to call those people, he gave them a name, he called them useful idiots, not to insult, but to bring up history. Because these people will follow Obama because he speaks well. But in reality, the guy made his income, he bought a $35 or $40 million mansion in Hawaii, and he does not contribute into this piece of pie that he says everybody should have an equal piece. He himself does not want to contribute, but he wants to preach it because this is the type of mentality, this is the type of success that Obama sees for America. Obama said, I want to fundamentally change America. And people just listened and said, okay. I mean, he's not the type of guy. But you're right, about leadership. I mean, a college professor, I was listening to Charlie Rose show, a college professor who's a liberal Democrat, he actually said, and this is a guy who voted for Obama. This is a guy who actually supported Obama. He says that Obama does not have leadership skills to deal with Putin. We need someone like Reagan. This is a liberal talking. So even they realize that Obama is not a leader. The only success Obama has is to destroy our country piece by piece.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we actually, there's 2 points that you made there. I've always said that Russia plays chess, America plays checkers. We're always thinking, in 4-year or 2-year cycles, depending on the political climate, where Russia is playing chess. They're playing for the long haul, and this whole thing with Syria, I would not be a bit surprised, and we talked about this on the show. When Putin came in and said Syria, now obviously Russia has vested interest in Syria and stuff, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Russia's play was, hey, look, Syria, America is looking to get out of its problems by starting another war because they know that America comes together whenever we're in conflict, legitimate conflict. So don't give them that opportunity. Let's back them down, and then they're going to have to face their economy problems without the fact that they rallied together, to fight a war. And I'm a firm believer. That's Putin is a grandmaster chess player in the political realm. He's shown it time and time again, and I think that's what a lot of the Syria move was. It had nothing to do with keeping us from. Well, it had everything to do with keeping us from going to war, but it had more so the fact that Putin knew if we started to go after Syria for these chemical weapons, we would, as a country, rally behind our president, and then he could do no wrong. And, the shutdown would have never happened because Congress would have never shut down the government if we were in an active or engaged in an active war. And I think Putin saw that. I think he saw that, and he said, let's make them face their problems and not give them an out this time. And he came in and did what he did. So that's the first thing. The other thing, it's amazing. You talked about Charlie Rose. I don't know if you heard this, but one of the biggest proponents for Obama in the first election was Oprah Winfrey. She was huge. She was really big on her side. Well, just last week, she was invited to the White House, and there's reports that she flatly turned it down, said she doesn't want anything to do with it. So even you're seeing a lot of individuals that were huge supporters of Obama, that tied their ship. Now Oprah, doesn't need to tie her sail to anybody else's ship. But the fact of the matter is that, they're starting to turn their back. I mean, we are seeing that. And I'm curious to see how the administration is going to be able to handle that kind of people defecting from their cause, because he needs his media, like Perestroika, in Russia. He needs that media because that's the voice that can get out there and manipulate these people and everything. So that, you raised really 2 good points there with that. People are starting to turn on Obama and everything. So, wow, where do we start with the book and everything? So,
well, let me add to what you said.
Sure.
I mean, you made a great point. I mean, and the word of this show or today should be romanticism. I mean, you're right. I mean, people were romanticizing Obama legacy. I mean, they look like the turn of the history. We have a first black president, and people were thinking they're making history. People forgot to look who Obama really is, what he does, what his ties are. If he has any experience, if he's even legal to be a president, I mean, forget about it. I mean, I get called names just by bringing it up, even in Republican circles. I mean, I'm a strong believer in strong leadership and a strong pro-American leadership. Now, you're right. I mean, Putin is definitely playing chess, but Putin is doing to us what we already did to them. And it's funny how we cannot seem to wake up and realize that Reagan did the exact same thing to Soviet Union. Reagan killed Soviet Union economically. There was not a bullet fired. There was no war. There was no attack. Reagan mentally killed them and economically. Reagan was a strong leader. And even liberals realize that no matter what they think about Reagan, they realize how amazing as a character, as a person he was, and as a leader. Now, they call him an actor, they call him a former actor, but his acting skills just gave him a better opportunity to relate to people, to speak better. Now, we have Obama. Nobody knows where he came from. Nobody can dig up any records. We don't know what he did. We know he never had a job in his life. All we know, he was a community organizer. He was organizing people. He was organizing people to rally against America. And his ties to every anti-American is evident, but people seem to turn the other way. And you're right. People like Oprah, even though they love to say Obama is our first black president, it's amazing. It's a historical moment. It should be. But the problem is they realize that everything that they live for, everything that they enjoy in America, Obama is against that. And I think they maybe starting to realize at least.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and you don't be bashful on this show. You can actually tell. I mean, we talked about it. I have questions about the legitimacy of Obama's birth, and I'm not a birther. My last name's Norton. But my thing is, well, I mean, to be honest, I mean, I've been called a racist, and like I said, if you only knew, it's kind of funny. It's really funny, actually. If people actually truly knew, they would know that I'm far from being a racist. But the reality of it is we talk about Obama, if he's legitimate or not. The other day I played an audio clip of when BBC did. You can't find it in America, but it was a BBC special that was done when he was a senator, and we got audio of his grandmother saying that she was there when he was born, and that he is a son of this village, which translates to he was born. That's their way of saying you were born in this, in the village. We have obviously the document that they produced, his birth certificate. The computer forensics experts, maybe the guys that they should have hired to build Obamacare, tore it apart and basically said, wait a minute, this wouldn't even stand up in the court of law. This is a forgery, because of the metadata, and we can tell that this document was forged. It wasn't real. And, it's just amazing. But you get so many people, and that's that whole, when you tell people that, they look at you and you could see that they agree with you, but then for some reason it's like a trap that shuts, and they go, and then all of a sudden they're like, you're a birther, and it's crazy, and I don't understand. Is it that we are so prideful as a nation or as a group that we don't want to admit that we made a huge mistake, that we didn't vet this guy, and in his fury of getting him elected and having the first African American president, that we really didn't vet this guy like we should have. And I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. All I know is the facts that I've accumulated, and to me it just it's walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So, going back to
it's a communist. If it looks like a duck, it's a communist.
Exactly. It's a communist. So, no, hey, right now, well, I don't, I am not a fan of communism because I know, and it's amazing because you have all of these in America, obviously we have 43% of the American populace that live off of the government, don't pay taxes to get, government aid. Now, some of those are grandparents and stuff, so let's be fair, but you have a majority of those which are living kind of in a socialistic kind of thing. They're provided housing, they're provided food, they're provided clothing and everything. But I've always said that if we went to a full communist or socialistic government, those are the people. It's amazing. These are the people that support the president so much, say, well, we got to have him because of this or that. But those are the people that are actually going to suffer because last I checked in communist Russia, you still had to produce to get all of the luxuries, and the luxuries you got weren't, a luxury in communist Russia was food and water, right? Or a little bit of housing.
Well, yeah, you were given a lot of things by government, but it was forced employment. I mean, of course, it was always inequality. I mean, in itself, because if you're forced to produce and somebody doesn't produce, you want to raise them as a citizen because, like you said, how we're Americans, we're proud. We don't want to admit that we made a mistake with Obama. Where in communism in Soviet Russia, they didn't want to admit that their regime, their society, is failing in any direction. So if the Soviet citizen, especially a party member, was getting out of hand and was doing things that are not Soviet-like, they would try to raise him as a citizen and then say, see, communism works because this citizen was just sick. They had a problem and we fixed it and now he's a good citizen again. So it's like almost pulling a lemon through a hole of a peanut, I mean, I don't know how else to describe it because you're trying to always kind of put the horse behind the carriage and you're trying to say, well, we're succeeding. Oh, we're not succeeding. Let's lower our standards. Oh, now we're succeeding again. And that's what we basically did with Obama. I mean, look at the demoralized Obama support. If you tell them that Obama did this and this, they don't want to hear the facts anymore. They say, hey, he's just a great president. Why is he great? What did he do? Oh, he wants to help the people. How's he helping the people? Oh, he's just a great president. I mean, you don't get a clear answer because there's nothing to answer anymore. You're right. They're afraid to admit that we lowered our standards in the character of a president. And besides everything else, we don't even have leadership. He has no leadership skills. I mean, the only leadership he has, like I said, I might have mentioned before, his success is our failure. And he's not failing. He's not failing as a we're saying Obama is maybe not a good president, he doesn't have experience, but he's actually succeeded. He wants this type of socialist mentality. He wants demoralized public. And they will suffer, like you said, they will suffer because when everybody's forced to contribute, everybody's forced to contribute.
Exactly. And that's what I when I do have the opportunity to speak to people that are on the government doles, that's what I tell them, when they talk about Obama phone and they talk about and it's like, do you not realize, that there's going to be a point in which you're going to have to start contributing. And if you don't contribute, you won't be able to participate. And that's what a lot of people, with Obamacare, they all think that they're going to get free health care. And, we did the numbers. There is no free health care. Now, granted, at the very beginning, you will have a segment of the populace that will get the free health care. But guess what? They're already getting free health care, under the social programs now. And what's going to happen is that this is a way of the government consolidating. And then now everybody's registered and now they can see now they're hooked into your financials. See, in America, you get social services, you get social programs, but you don't have to prove any financial vitality. And under Obamacare, now you got to prove, financial. They're going to, under the Obamacare law, if you read it, I've read it, they have access to your bank accounts. They have access to everything. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to see all of the illicit income that you're making and everything. And they're going to, they're going to criminalize. But Which I don't disagree. Anyways, there's a lot of people that are getting these programs that have no business getting on them, but that, and that's what I try to tell these. But of course they, whatever. Oh, well, I'll just, whatever. And it's like, okay, whatever. I'll be living in my cabin and, living off the land and talking on, shortwave radio and stuff. So, but I mean, what right now, because I only know about, Soviet Russia, from what I've seen on TV and what I've read and some of the history and everything. But what are some of the, you were there firsthand, let's draw some correlation between, Russia and what you see going on right now, besides the charismatic leader and the person that's able to move the masses, and affect change by lowering overall standards and making people feel good. Forget that. We've already talked about that. But what do you see? Let's draw some correlations between what your life was in communist Russia and what you're starting to see here in the United States.
Sure. Well, first of all, the mentality that collective mentality that we should all pull together. Listen, I'm a compassionate person. If I can donate, I donate. If I want to donate, I donate. Nobody's going to have to tell me to contribute to society. If I can contribute and I'm able to, I have a heart and I have a compassion. Now, elderly people, sick people, of course, as a society, we should help them and we should assist them. But now we see a mentality of people that everybody should be equal. And that mentality in Soviet Union was so instilled since you were a kid that you were praised for for some of the things you did. You got a good grade, you were praised. But at the same time, you had that mentality that, a society is more important than everything else. That, as a Soviet citizen, you should uphold certain standards. And you really did not do things that you were proud of yourself. You were doing things because somebody else told you should be proud of them. Now, in here, we see comparisons and mentality in a similar order. For example, you saw a movie probably by Dinesh D'Souza, 2016. And the scariest part of that movie was that the kids were not singing the song at the end of the movie. Now, for those of you who saw the movie, and for you, Jeff, if you saw the movie, that part was just another part of the movie. It was, kind of crazy that kids were singing the song about Obama. But what it did, it sent chills up my spine because we're not praising America. We're not praising our greatness, our nation, our fallen heroes. We're praising a man in the White House. And there's no reason in the public education to praise a man who's supposedly there working for us. And now these teachers, these mesmerized, romanticized teachers, they're teaching songs about Obama to the kids. I call it indoctrination. I know some people might say I'm a little off the wall, I'm a little out of hand, but we used to study songs about Lenin and Stalin. We used to study songs praising how great Lenin was, and if it wasn't for Lenin, none of us would be here. Now, is this what we're looking at in Obama and what's going on? The phrases that Obama uses basically are straight out of Karl Marx and the Communist Manifesto. He says equal and fair share to each to his own need and to his own ability. This is not opportunity-driven type of a leader. He's a collectivist, socialist, communist supporting type of a leader. And this is not what America always stood for and the type of America that we came to when we came to this land. So, this is some of the comparisons, and there's many more.
Yeah, we'll go back to the school. I've got daughters. I've got, my youngest daughter still in junior high going into high school, and we'll be going into high school, and it's just amazing. I look at, and it's Agenda 21 and the core competency that they're doing, that these schools have adopted. We have several articles and have linked to them. And obviously you can see them on Facebook where kids are given assignments to find out if their parents are left-leaning or right-leaning, and they're getting penalized if their parents are Republican or conservative or libertarian in nature. I mean, these kids are actually getting grades based upon their parents and their political ideology. And it's amazing. You're right. We're starting to see that. And, and you're absolutely correct. When Obama was running, there was a school here in Chicago where they had several youths get together. Youths, I use that from, I can't remember that, the movie that they came from, but we had several youths that youths. It was a classic movie about a lawyer. It was I can't remember it, but
My Cousin Vinny.
My cousin Vinny. There you go. Yeah, My Cousin Vinny. So American culture. So My Cousin Vinny, and that were sitting there, and they were going through almost a militaristic gyration, and they were pledging allegiance to Obama. Obama. Yep. And I was like, whoa. I mean, I can understand to be proud, I can understand to be proud of the fact that we've overcome or perceived overcome our racism here in the United States, because we do have some dark history. But the reality of it is that they weren't touting that. They were touting, like you said, it was the cult of personality, where they were all hail to Obama. And that scared me, because, obviously with Hitler and I've studied, I am a study of history, and I look at what happened, with Hitler, and we all know what happened with the Jews, and, and how he was able to carry on that mass slaughter, because he was able to manipulate and mind control the German people. And it's amazing. I mean, it's just utter, and I see that same thing going on here in the United States, that we're our children, our young people are getting, I think there's a two-prong attack. They're attacking our kids, and they're manipulating their minds in school. And then what they're doing is they're oppressing the parents by keeping them always kind of on the run, financially. We're always trying to joke, $3 gas, $4 gas, food bill has gone up or doubled, trying to pay the bills. And so we're always distracted with that, so they're able to do what they can do and everything. So
you're right. I mean, this is a great point you just made. I mean, basically, if you can control the economy, not control it the way we feel it should be controlled, but they're actually trying to make the economy tougher on the middle class. Because if they attack the economy, if they attack that we're going to help the poor, and we're going to bring the rich down. When you bring the rich down, you bring in middle class to be poor. And now you have people who work two jobs, including myself, and you have people who truly are not able to spend as much time. So government steps in, and then the village, as Hillary Clinton pointed out a while back, is raising your kids. And in Soviet Union, they actually have activities that you need to participate in. You collect newspapers, or you do things, and they're nice activities. But what they're doing in reality, they're making the kids sort of your watchdog. I mean, we had stories, we had incidents in history of Soviet Union where the kids would give in their parents. And I mean, of course, I love my parents, and I mean, a lot of kids understand that that's not something you want to do. But some kids actually gave in their parents when they said, well, if your parents have more than the others, you should tell, and because everybody should be equal. And we had such heroes in kids where they said, well, my father is hiding some bread, or he's hiding some crop that he collected, and he's not sharing it with the rest of the village. And they would arrest the father, the family would go starving, and the kid would be pronounced a hero.
I mean, in pseudo, you have that going on in the United States, but you have it at more of a government level, where our politicians are saying, well, you have too much. If you make over $250,000, you need to pay, double the tax. We need to increase your taxes, or, the government. You don't have to do that at the local level. We have the government doing that to us, and you're right. It is amazing how many.
Well, give it. Jeff, Jeff, I apologize. Give it a chance. I mean, because I have a few people I know that when their kids went to colleges, they went to really expensive good schools, and they came back and they said, I don't care about the money. I don't care about the car. I don't care about anything. Well, if you live with your parents and you drive your father's Mercedes and you don't worry about the money, of course you don't care. That's the type of mentality that I don't care about capitalism because you're living right now at the cost of others. And that's what the type of mentality that they seem to understand unless they're left to provide for themselves. Then they maybe realize. Because when I talk to some of the younger kids who are finishing college, they're very idealistic, and I respect that. I respect if you believe in something, at least speak out. If you can tell me why you believe that Obama is doing some good, tell me, please. But when I tell these kids, you're going to graduate, you're going to go to work, and now some of your paycheck, large majority of your paycheck is going to go to a government, not to poor people. It's going to go to government, bureaucracy. I mean, do you see your paycheck going up or down? Because this is the kids who are actually going to start working, and they realize that their careers that they're building for whatever, 4 years, 12 years, depends on what you choose in college. And then after all that, you have to share most of your income with the government. Forget about the poor people. These programs don't help anybody. They actually discourage people. They make people not want to do anything. So government is literally expanding itself and telling people we're doing it for your own benefit.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's one of the greatest lies that are being told is you hit it right on the head. There's that you have kids that go to college. They come out usually $50,000 to $100,000, $120,000 in debt. They can't get jobs. One of the highest unemployment rates right now is amongst graduating college students. They can't get jobs, and if they do get a job, it's not making the wages that they thought they were going to make. They're making a $40,000 wage, and I can tell you're not going to be able to support a whole lot on $40,000 with the thing, and you got 20% of that going away. And you're right. A lot of Americans. I had this conversation actually with my family when they were visiting, and I had to explain to them that when you pay taxes, it doesn't pay. The taxes, the money that we pay in income tax does not pay for the social programs. That the money that we pay in, if you add up all the money we pay in, that pays for the interest on the debt that our government has taken out. What pays for the social programs are all the other ancillary taxes that you pay, through housing tax and cell phone tax and food tax and retail tax, all of that's what pays for that. And you're absolutely right. And when I tell people that, they're like, they can't believe it. And it's like, well, do the numbers. Don't listen to me, just do the numbers. Look at how much money we collect in taxes and look at what our interest, the interest payments that we have to make. And you're going to find your money's really not going to that. That's why our government consistently runs a deficit and has to continually borrow money and everything. So yeah, it's
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you saw it today, 90 million people out of the workforce who have just,
yeah, exactly. I mean, when they talk about unemployment, they always talk about the percentage. Well, never mind the percentage. Let's talk about the numbers, the real numbers. They never say that half of those people who are working now went on part-time basis, or not even part-time. Let's say they cut them by 10 hours. That's not full employment. It's not considered full part-time because part-time you think somebody's working, let's say, 20 hours a week. But let's say you're working 35 instead of 40 hours. You're already making less. That means your life standard, and I'm not talking about people who are making $500,000 a year. We're talking about people who are making $60,000, $70,000 who are putting food on the table. So now instead of that money, you're making, let's say, $10,000 less plus taxes. They're taking out. Well, they're saying that they're not going to raise taxes on anybody over $250,000, considering that $250,000 is supposed to be rich. I mean, at some point in my life, I'm sure I was making close to that number. And you know what? Most of that money goes into expenses and to bills. So $250,000, but let's say $250,000 is a rich person. Now, They said not even a dime is going to be expended in taxes on anybody under $250,000, and they were right. They were correct because it's more than a dime. They're going to charge us more than a dime. I mean, I look at my paycheck, and I'm not making $250, but I'm looking at my paycheck, and I'm missing $100 to $150 from each paycheck since January 1st, and I don't know where that money is going, and that money is definitely not going to some poor person because if I gave $150 every 2 weeks to a poor person, I'm sure they'd be able to eat better than they do now.
Oh, absolutely. And, that's one of the big misconceptions, this number of 250,000, and you hit it right on the head, was typically if you're making $250,000 a year in income, that usually means you have a business, which means that you've invested X amount of dollars, which, in the business that you don't get back if the business fails. That means that typically you have employees that you're having to pay. That means that you're working. If anybody that's in business knows that that you're working 13, 14, 15, up to 20 hours a day, and that's not accounted for. So this whole notion of $250,000 is a magical number. The individuals that actually only work 8 hours a day and make that money is very slim and nil. I mean, these are, 250,000. You can, if you dig deeper, you'll find out that they are business owners and they're employing other people and they're having. So at the end of the day, they're not taking that home. But it's amazing. We're not going to raise taxes, but this huge tax that's staring at us, and it's funny that the American people forget about that. I mean, this thing called Obamacare. It's a tax. I mean, I've told people they argue when they went to the Supreme Court. We have Obama's his own words. Well, it's not a tax. It's a pool. Everybody gets in. It's not a tax. But then when they go to the Supreme Court and they argue the validity of it to the justice, when they have to go to people that are smart, that can kind of weed through their BS, what's the first thing that Lou said when he was arguing it? Well, it's a tax. And under a tax, under the Constitution, we have the right to levy taxes. And that's what it infuriates me when people say, well, the Supreme Court upheld it. The Supreme Court didn't uphold Obamacare. What they did is they said that if Obamacare is a tax, which it is, and we all know it is, and it's a tax on everybody, the President of the United States and Congress has the right to do that. That's what they're saying. Take the word Obamacare out of it. They can levy a tax, So for Obama to stand there and say, well, if you're under 250,000, you're not going to get a tax. That's just flat out BS because we all got taxed with Obamacare. Use their words. Don't use my words. Use their words. That's what they argued in the Supreme Court and stuff.
Well, exactly, Jeff. I mean, you brought up an excellent point. I mean, they don't just have one tax. They have 21 taxes on middle class. I mean, there was a breakdown, and I posted it on my Facebook. I posted it everywhere. There was 21 taxes just on middle class alone. Forget about other taxes and other rules and regulations. 21 taxes on the middle class. That means that the people that were not supposed to pay a dime will be paying a lot more than a dime, just like Obama promised. I mean, and not to mention, you asked me what are other similarities, and I didn't want to bring it up because it's a big topic, so I was waiting for us to talk about it. What other similarities do we have as far as this government pushing us in that direction that I see similar to Soviet Union and other nations of despotic societies, so to speak? Soviet Union had free healthcare. And of course, a lot of Hollywood says, countries like Soviet Union, Russia, they provide free healthcare. Well, as everybody knows, nothing in the world is free. Either somebody has to pay for it or you pay for it. But you pay for it sometimes with money, sometimes with things that are much more important and more valid to you, like your health, your loved one's health. I mean, people think that this is a scare tactic, but how can you show a society of 300 million people that you're going to save money with this huge program? You're going to decide, you're going to prioritize, and you're going to justify who needs procedures, who needs surgeries, and who doesn't. And those things are called death panels. People thought that it was some kind of a Republican scheme, but how else are you going to decide and prioritize from a bureaucratic government organization who's going to get treatment and who's not? You can't provide treatment to 300 million Americans. So obviously a priority, and priority depends not on your health, not an issue, but your priority to the society. That's how it was done everywhere where there's a pre-nationalized healthcare. They make a decision based on your age and your value to society.
Well, exactly. And that, in Florida, we reported last week, there are a lot of hospitals, a lot of doctors in Florida that are asking you to pay for your services up front. So, I mean, most people don't have the money to do that. You're rich, you're going to get it, and you're poor. They're shutting down hospitals, they're laying off doctors and everything. And, I've been to, I was unfortunate enough to get sick in a foreign country who had free health care, they had free health care. And this is when I was working, a lot of people don't know this. I am not, I can hear the blogosphere blow up now, but I was a government insider. I was, I wasn't part of that. I was a contractor. I worked for different agencies within the government. And so I had the fortunate of traveling, and then I had the fortunate of being associated with the government. So I was, I got sick in a foreign country, and it was amazing. They, I was going to go to the hospital, and they were like, no, we're going to have a doctor come to you, and the doctor's going to sit with you the whole time. And that's where, because I was part of that privileged group in a foreign country, and that's exactly what happened to me. And that kind of, I was sitting there going, wow, this is crazy. The fact, thank you, I'm alive, and I made it through and stuff. But they literally had a doctor there with me, and they were like, you're not going to. I was going to go to the hospital pick up my medicine, and they're like, no, we'll have someone come to you and bring it to you. It was crazy. And that's how a lot of these, and that's what a lot of people don't see, because they hear about, how great, healthcare is in Canada and England, and they don't realize that it's not like that. You get a priority. I think it was the director there was an English hospital. She died just recently because her surgery was postponed 4 times. And she's a director of the health services there in England, and they canceled her surgery 4 separate times, and she ended up passing away from her modality. And you're right. And especially now when you have a shrinking of the healthcare system by Obamacare, which is going on, treatment is going to be few and far between. And a lot of people don't realize that, all right, you have this great system, but you don't have doctors. Hospitals are shutting their doors. Who's going to take care of you? Yeah, you got this great system you're paying into, but there's no one there to actually take care of you. And like I said, I've read the Obamacare bill. There's a piece in that bill that actually states they can check your ability to pay for services. So when they're so when they're looking at your treatment, say you've got I've got a real good friend who's got multiple sclerosis, and the treatments that he does is very expensive. And there's a new procedure that he could get. There's a new procedure that he could get that would increase the quality of his life. And under Obamacare and under the current system, he was denied that treatment because it was too costly. Now, if he was rich, if he had the money, he could pay part of it, and then they would pay the rest. But this is all part of that. A lot of people don't understand. This is all part of that system. Like you said, they call them, they say, well, they're not death panels, but you're right. They are death panels, because if you can't afford the service anymore, and if the government deems that you don't have the financial ability to pay back for this, you just won't get the service. You'll get the tier 2 service instead of the tier 1. And it's sad. It's just,
it is. It's absolutely sad. I mean, they the way they like to discredit this claim of death panels. They say, okay, yeah, there is just a panel of 10 people, and they're making all the decisions. No. I mean, listen. Don't look into the phrase. Don't look into the words. There's definitely going to be a more vehicle type of decision-making process where you have to speak to somebody, and you don't know who you're supposed to speak to, and then you're supposed to get an approval and you don't know who to talk to, and then there's going to be corruption, just like you have in the food stamp and welfare organizations, and you're going to have officials somewhere in government deciding without a face, without any history of anything, just deciding whether or not you need a procedure while they're chewing on a bag of potato chips, just like I've seen decision-making being done in motor vehicle when they sit there and it's not even lunchtime and they can't help you because they're busy. And then you're going to have people, just like in Canada, in England, now they have a place to go to get a surgery without waiting, if they have money, like you said. They came to America. But if America goes that route, where are you going to do your surgery, even if you can afford it? I mean, you're going to have to find a place where you can pay your own money, even though everything's equal and free and through Obamacare. So, yeah, death panels are very real. I mean, it's not as harsh every time as it sounds, but even a small procedure is going to have to go through some kind of a bureaucracy, and sometimes you might have some kind of a problem that will get a bigger problem because they're going to deny you, and they're going to tell you that there's no priority in this, there is no urgency in this, where you and your doctor should be deciding this, not some government official who couldn't care less.
Yeah. And, you know, you're absolutely right. And, you know, the other part that scares me about with Obamacare, and I'm sure you saw this in Russia, is that, you know, when you sign up for Obamacare, you're basically giving away your personal information. Number one, we all know that it's going into this big pool of information. And if you don't think the government sells that to drug or won't sell that to drug companies, you're crazy, because I can give you lists here's a good example. When you drive and you go to the airport and they take a picture of your license plate at the airport, right? And they tell you, oh, that's all because of Homeland Security, TSA stuff. That information, I tell my listeners this all the time. You ever notice that when you go and you travel, within a couple of weeks, you start getting, advertisements, and a lot of people would be sitting there going, well, that's because, I bought a plane ticket. They know that my airlines share that information. It's like, no, I can tell you for a fact. I know there's a major airport here located on, in the area in which I live, which I was, I know the software that they use. They were actually taking that license plate, imaging it, and this is technology they were doing 10 years ago. They were imaging your license plate. They were putting it to a database, and then they were selling that information to ad agencies. So, who's to say that the government's not going to take your medical history and sell that to that? They have a history of doing that. So it's just concerning that they, a lot of people think, the government's not benign. It's not a big deal, but it's crazy. It's just utterly insane. And, one of the things, we talk about signing your rights away, as I was reading the Obamacare law, I actually read the 7,200 pages. Well, I skimmed through most of it and stuff, but I put it on my tablet and I was reading it. If you're under the age of 21 and you have a child, if you're military or have a family member that's military, if you smoke, if your child is deemed high risk in the sense of some school official, so if your kid doesn't want to play ball with the teachers, and the teachers then label them as a troubled kid or anything like that, the government, the bureaucracy, can actually come into your home and do a home inspection. Now, that should scare you. That, you especially, I don't know if you ever experienced that as a child, but with the government actually coming into your home, some bureaucrat coming into your home and basically making a determination if you're a fit parent or not. And then, of course, they never tell you what they're going to do if they deem you not. But in Obamacare, it's right there. They have the right to come in there and do that. So then it's only a matter of time before they start saying, well, you have a gun in the home, or, you don't eat the food right, or, I'll tell you, I'm not a physically healthy person, well, you got to lose 20 pounds, or, your cholesterol's too high, and, you're diabetic, and, they're going to start, charging you tax, because it's just crazy. It's just utterly crazy. So.
Well, yeah, Jeff, they're already doing that. I mean, in Obamacare, and you read the bill. I didn't read most of the bill because I read like small portions. But I mean, nobody, I think, ever could read most of this bill. But they have other provisions in there that a doctor is allowed to do. And I mean, one of the things he's allowed, and he's supposed to, he's in fact supposed to ask you if you have a firearm in your house. That's basically their control of saying who's the gun owners. I mean, we already have a registration of gun owners, but no, they want more control over this. Where do you have a gun in the house, and how do you store it? I mean, I want my doctor to ask me about my health. Why am I in his office or her office? I mean, but now you got another part to this that you just mentioned. You have Michelle Obama spending $16 billion a year on a program, a Move On program, or something, Move On. And that program, all of a sudden, Michelle Obama became an utmost expert on child obesity. So now they can tell your kids, not just to educate, they say it's to educate the parents. But in reality, we already had cases where in school personnel took away the lunch and gave a kid the lunch that they thought was more fitting, where in reality, it's first of all none of their business, but it's Michelle Obama's pet project that she knows how two kids should exercise and how they should eat, while her and her family eat whatever they want. I mean, this is a perfect example of a socialist dictator mentality. Do as I say and not as I do.
Well, you brought it up, so I'm just gonna, I'm gonna kind of show it. Michelle Obama. I don't know if you know her history here in Chicago. I do. I've done the research. She sat on the board of a hospital in Chicago. She was actually, or there was investigations, the fact that they were patient dumping these hospitals. So you're talking about an administration who's all out for, who they're on the face of it is all out there because they're concerned about your health and they're going to make it better. But yet you got a member of the administration, and I don't care what you say, the first lady is a member of the administration. I'm sure she's got, I would tell you, if she told me what to do and I was Barack Obama, I would be listening to her because I'd be afraid she'd break me in half. But the reality of it is that you got half of the administration, the first lady, who clearly has a history in the healthcare system as a board director member, who was being investigated because they were patient dumping. Right. They were looking at the patients that weren't profitable for the hospital, and they were shipping them because this is the big misconception. In the United States, you could, it's changing. You could walk into any emergency room, regardless of your ability to pay, and get the same treatment that anybody else would get. The only difference is you might not get a private room. You might be in a public room, but you're still going to get the same surgery. You're still going to get the same drugs. You're still going to get all of that. Now, granted, because you don't have the ability to pay, you're going to have some financial hardship, but you're going to still get that treatment. Well, now under the current system, they're talking about where you're not going to get that treatment, or you've got to have the insurance. If you don't get the insurance, then the hospitals can refuse you. But,
yep.
And that's what's scary. But you had Michelle Obama over here when she was sat on the board of directors of a hospital in Chicago. They were literally taking patients. It's documented. I'm not making this. Go out there and look it up. They were literally taking patients, and they were moving them or dropping them off at higher neighborhood, like Highland. In our area, Chicago, you have Highland Park, Northbrook, those areas, which are the more affluent areas, and dropping these patients off at these hospitals. Because, she knew for their bottom line of where she was at in the community hospital that she was a director of, it wasn't profitable for them. So they were dropped. And she, there was, there's issues. Both of them actually had their law degrees, right?
Yes, and she was disbarred or something, right?
Well, she wasn't disbarred. They gave it, and did the research. They gave up their law degrees. A lot of people forget about the fact that he's not an American citizen, and everything. Forget all that stuff. The fact of the matter is they both had law degrees. And you can give up your law degree if you don't want. When you have a law degree, you have to do continuing education. So you have to continually go to class, CLEs. So you continually have to go to class. And so a lot of lawyers, non-practicing lawyers, will give up their law degree because they don't use it, and they don't want to go to these classes and the fee, so they just don't use it. That's not the case here. Now, the media tried to make it as the case here. That's not the case here. They were given the option, and those documents, like everything else around Obama, has been sealed, but they were given the option of either giving up their law degree or being sanctioned by the Illinois bar. So it's just utterly amazing. You have the administration who's saying that they're out for your health, but they clearly have a history of not demonstrating that. It's crazy.
Exactly. Well, I'm preaching to the choir because you're from Chicago, and I didn't realize that. I apologize before the show, of course. But as I understand, and I could be wrong, but as I understand, she's still on the board of directors for one of the hospital organizations in Chicago. She still is, I believe.
I think she's an advisor. She's not on the board. She's an advisor. And that's more just because the fact that she is, first lady, it's kind of a cursory, but she doesn't have when she was on the board of directors of the hospital, she was, that was actually a job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she had a job. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that was her. She oversaw, that was her. That's what she was doing, but now she's an advisor to the board.
Listen, you have two people in the White House who truly do not believe in America the way it was founded, the way it progressed. Even when Obama says we're not exceptional, and Putin laughs at us, and he goes, "Oh, look at your exceptional country," and Obama kind of laughs at it too. You have two people who hate America, and one of them is in the White House. That's sad.
Yes. No, I agree with you. I think that he despises what America is and wants to change. And what's really funny, it's not funny, it's sad. They tell you right out front. Look at their slogans: forward, change. Look at the banners and the posters that they do. That's a throwback to Soviet era propaganda. Look at some of the pictures, and the logos and all of that stuff. Look at it.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. You ought to be having flashbacks.
Oh, absolutely. When he said forward, I actually listened to an expert because I've seen those things. I read, I studied, Russian history in Russia, but I was still a child. So some of these things I have to kind of listen to experts, maybe read up on when I see them. But when he said forward, many leaders, so-called leaders, said forward. One of them was Lenin. Mao Zedong said forward in his own language. Cuba's Fidel Castro said forward. And they were explaining, they had an expert, and he was explaining, don't look at forward as moving forward as a society. The way progressives look at forward is a progressive type of thinking that we're going to move forward, but in reality, you're moving backwards, because what you're doing is you're actually saying that the government knows better. So we're going to move forward and we're going to help you. That's the way forward really means. And there's a bigger explanation, but the other people who you mentioned, they used slogans, they used science, they used different, sort of like they call them patriotic, but in reality the patriotism was towards the dictator rather towards the country and the people.
Yep, that's it. Forward of their agenda is what it is, not forward of the people. And
exactly. It's not the time, because some people say, "What, you want us to move backwards to slavery?" God forbid, no. But we're talking about, I want to move back to principles, not the dark portion of our history where actually Republicans helped a lot to get us out of that history in many cases, not just Lincoln, but many cases through history. Republican Party tend to lift people up out of poverty, out of slavery, out of many things. But now you got slogans that we need to move forward, because if we look backwards, no, I want to move back to the principles, not the lifestyle and not the dark history, but the backwards to the principles of Constitution, to the American exceptionalism. But forward doesn't mean the same in the time. They're not talking about time-wise. They're moving forward as their ideology, like you said, fundamentally changing America.
Well, it's been. I mean, a lot of the economists out there are already saying that the segment that President Obama has promised to help is actually moving backwards in their economic status and their ability to provide. I mean, it's already proven. We have so many Americans now going on food stamps and social services and all of those things, disability and stuff. So, and the group, if you, I drive through certain areas in the community and stuff, and it does, I can tell you this, it doesn't look any cleaner. I mean, I go down to Chicago. I used to go down there when I worked and stuff. I would go down there every day. And I can tell you that Chicago's a beautiful city. If you ever have the opportunity to come to Chicago itself, the city is just beautiful. Now, forget the people. I mean, it's a clean city. It's just very, very, beautiful. Forget their ideology and all that stuff. Just come to the city. I mean, it is a beautiful city. But now I can tell you this, it's changing. If you go down to, before there was very little graffiti. There's graffiti everywhere in Chicago. I mean, it's just amazing. You can't walk, and there was a time where you could walk at night when I lived downtown Chicago, when I actually lived there before I moved to Wisconsin. I could walk at night, and it was along the lake, and it was incredible. Now, don't even think about it unless you want to get mugged. I mean, it's just. I mean, it's changing, and you can see. So this hope and change that that they promised us, we definitely changed, but it's definitely not for the better. I mean, it's just unbelievable, unbelievable.
It was just pretty words, nice slogan. People keep repeating it. People not thinking what it truly means. I mean, hope. For what? Change for what? I mean, did anybody even question? I mean, Obama is he's an epitome of Marxist, Leninist, Sololinskist. I mean, he preaches to whatever people want to hear at the moment. He'll say anything you want to hear. He'll give you any beautiful picture of unrealistic society that he's going to paint for you. But if you look at it, there is no way that he can ever deliver, not that he even tries to. I mean, perfect example, like you mentioned and I mentioned, Obamacare. I mean, a simplest thing, there's their program, their baby. This is their promise to America. I didn't want Obamacare, but okay, let's put that aside. Obamacare. And the thing that is not really working is the thing that every 12-year-old in America can have, a website. I mean, a website these days is in reality easy to build. Now, of course, they're saying it's new, we're going through growing pains. First of all, I'm in IT, so you can't sing that to me. I mean, when you release a system that you've been building for 3 years, and you say that you couldn't even test if, let's say, 2 million or 10 million join, 10 million or 2 million doesn't make a difference when you're building a website. How about trying 100 million to make sure that it can handle 2 million? I mean, and they don't need these people. They can do a stress test. But nobody did it. Nobody even bothered doing it because Obama hired a company, or Obama administration hired a company that was already being out of work in Canada, not even an American company. He hired a company, a failed company. He spent 3 times more than he would have spent on any other company to do this thing, and it's not working because Obama really doesn't care. His administration doesn't care if there is an Obamacare. All they care about is grabbing more control. That's all it is.
Well, it is amazing, and that goes back. You said it, and I say it all the time. It's that consumer or that community organizer mentality. His whole upbringing is blaming other people, or because you've got it, we should get it kind of mentality. And it's clear that he's never ran anything. And you being in IT, when you write software. And everything, darn well that the engineer, they're throwing it onto the company. And granted, the company is the ultimate blame here. But from my understanding of my inside sources, is the company all along has been telling them, number one, the company didn't start writing the code until September of this year, because they didn't get paid or something. They didn't even start writing the code until September of this year. Number one. Number two, all along they were telling the administration in email and also in executive meetings that it's not going to be ready, and that there's things that need to be done, and the administration they just kind of they kind of pushed it under. Now a lot of the rumor mill out there, and well, I don't want to say rumor because I think it's becoming fact, is that was an intentional deception that the administration chose to do because he was in an election cycle, and the last thing he wanted to do, Obama and the administration wanted to admit that that he can't run anything. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, that's what it boils down to. You've been in those meetings, those IT meetings. I'm sure you know that you've got very exceptional, smart programmers, and if they're sitting there telling the administration or telling the executive, administration, hey, look, we need more time, we need more time, we need more time, and the administration, this is what you get. This is exactly what you get. I agree with you. I mean, the stress test, that's bunk. I mean, there's software out there. I've done the research. There's software out there, they could buy very cheaply, inexpensively, and that could simulate the amount of connections. And we talked about this on the show, that the math just doesn't add up. If you've got 126 million people that got to sign up, and you built your website, and this is Jay Carney's words, not mine, they built it on 50,000 transactions a day or signs up a day, it would take you 3.6 years. If you just do the math. You're telling me that administration didn't have a calculator? I mean.
Well, it sounds, Jeff, I'll tell you, it sounds like this administration doesn't have calculator on way too many things. I mean, on the economy, on job markets. It seems like they lost their calculator and they don't seem to find it.
I don't think they care. What concerns me is either they're just completely inept, they're completely just inept, and maybe that's the case, and God, we hope that's the case, or B, they got something else planned. That's what concerns me more so, is that they might have something else planned for us.
They absolutely. I mean, listen, I agree with you completely. I mean, but you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, it's not about Obamacare. It's not about jobs. It's not about economy. Obama didn't step into the White House to improve America. If he did, he would have been doing that. I mean, he's been in the White House for 5 years, and we haven't seen a single policy, not a single policy. I mean, this is how bad it is, that when I argue or debate with liberals or Democrats, there's no more Democrats left. There's either liberals or moderates. I mean, but if I debate with them and they tell me, well, you can't give Obama credit on anything, well, I'm sorry. If the kid is running through the room, breaking everything, why would I give him credit? What has Obama done, a single item that actually benefited America? You tell me.
I'm still looking for, I mean, Forbes even said today, they came out with an article, said that GDP has either been flat or has been negative for the past 5 years. So so we talk about the economy. We all know that the true unemployment rate in the United States is roughly 20%. Those that are able to find jobs aren't getting the maximum pay. They're getting 1 or 2 jobs, 3 jobs in some cases. The GDP, Forbes came out, like I said today, and said, GDP's either been flat or it's been negative. So you can pretty much check the economy off of his win column. Obamacare, healthcare, or social, you can check that off of the win column. We already know where that's going. Our education system, there's a report that was put out about 2 weeks ago that the United States is now 23rd in math and sciences worldwide. I mean, we are considered dumb by most standards, educational standards. So you can check that off of his win column. I don't, now he is successful in certain things, and what he's successful in is what we've been talking about, and that's actually diminishing the American America. You know, he is.
Yep.
We're laughing stock of. You know, people talked about Bush and how we were a laughing stock. We are now a laughing stock of the world. Of the world. I mean, no one takes us seriously. No one.
Yeah, I agree with you. The only thing that Bush succeeded in doing, not succeeded in doing, Bush opened the door for people to say, we need somebody different. And Obama stepped into that door. Nobody looked at him. Nobody looked closer at him. They just saw that we have a first black president. Everybody saw that he's young, he's vibrant, but nobody cared about what this man truly believed in his entire life. Nobody even cared about that. I mean, this is not the guy that's going to step into the White House and automatically change. I mean, we have a guy who his entire life been living amongst communists, socialists. Some of the people who raised him, they were on FBI watch list. And if we ever went to war with Russia, most of the people who were raising him would have been arrested. And now we let this guy come into the White House and say he can lead us out of the mess, some of the mess that maybe came from Bush, came from Democratic Congress. But I'll tell you a statistic. We're talking about unemployment. Here's a statistic that should resonate with a lot of people. Obama says he's helping the poor. He's trying to help the black community. Here's an interesting statistic. The unemployment in the black community, and it's a fact, has been the highest right now since Carter administration, if not further. I mean, unemployment in the black community, if I'm not mistaken, is close to 30%.
Oh, yeah. I mean, sorry about that. I hit the button by mistake, but you're absolutely correct. I mean, it is the worst. I mean, unemployment amongst, a key factor too in the economy, not just in the African American community, but amongst the young African Americans is upwards of 40 something percent. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It's insane number, yeah, absolutely. And this is a man who's being praised for being the first president who understands the black community because he is black. First of all, I mean, he was privileged. He was given the privilege to go to the best schools, and he's still trying to do the race baiting. His wife says that Barack could get shot if he goes to a gas station. I mean, it's just insane. These people are supposed to praise America, not downplay it and demise it every chance they get.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, you're right. I mean, Obama, a lot of people don't realize that, they tell the story about his mother and they tell the story about, his father and everything. But one of the things that's amazing that they leave out, his father was a socialist. His father was at one time, I think he was like a leader of the Socialistic Party there in Indonesia, or one of those countries that Obama lived in when he was growing up. It's amazing. They tell the story about the single mother and everything, but he was raised by his grandparents, but they don't tell the full story. The fact that he was surrounded by socialists and everything. So, we brought it up, and I was just kind of pulling up some of my notes here. I mean, just to kind of, let's talk about, his associates. Let's talk about some of the, so a lot of those listeners out there that don't know. I mean, obviously, Resco. I mean, actually, President Obama's house in Chicago was formerly owned by Tony Resco. He's now sitting in federal prison. He had 16 to 24 counts involving mail fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, and aiding and abetting bribery. So you got Tony Resco right there. I mean, Tony Resco, donated money. Actually, it's my understanding that Tony Resco, they were the ones that were there with Bill Ayers, of the Weatherman fame. And I don't know if a lot of you people know this, but Bill Ayers, I don't even know why he's still not in prison or why he never went to prison. He was part of a movement called the Weathermen. A lot of the patriots know this already, but for those that are listening who don't know this, he was actually deemed a terrorist by our government.
He's a domestic terrorist.
Yeah, he was
a domestic terrorist.
Yeah, I mean they were blowing up universities, and anybody that didn't believe in their way of forward, or the way that the world should be. I mean, serious. I mean, they weren't protest. It wasn't like they were taking picket signs and they're standing outside of your business or your office or your home. They were sending bombs. they were blowing people up, So William Ayers, you got Emil Jones. Emil Jones was president of the Illinois Senate. He was kind of, I believe, Obama's political godfather is what they called him in Chicago. Mr. Jones got in trouble for taking state money and moving to institutions that he endorsed or those that supported him, and also employees. So he's got a sword past as well. You got Khalidi. Khalidi is a Palestinian scholar and author of Middle Eastern affairs who has called Israel a racist state, bent on creating an apartheid system, and let's talk about this a little bit here. I don't know if a lot of people know President Obama currently has about 6 members of the Egyptian Brotherhood,
Muslim Brotherhood,
or the Muslim Brotherhood on his advisory council for various
Homeland Security. He has members of Muslim Brotherhood in Homeland Security in the top positions.
Now you know the history of the Muslim Brotherhood, right?
Well, I know some of it. They started as a political organization, and originally they were on the warpath. Now they consider themselves only political organization. Yeah,
the Muslim Brotherhood was actually formed by the Nazi Party. I laugh here, but it's just so sad that when the Muslim Brotherhood were actually formed, they were the wing of the Nazi Party in the Middle Eastern continents. So that ought to send some red flags.
I saw a special on that, and people were, even in Germany, people were appalled that such Aryan leader all of a sudden took a liking to this imam who brought a battalion of soldiers who were Muslim from Middle East, and even Nazi troops couldn't understand what's going on this one.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot. We give so much. Our president is giving so. Yesterday he gave $1.6 billion to Pakistan. We all know, the whole Benghazi story that's starting to come out. I think there's some hearings going on there. We have a hearing coming up pretty soon. I don't think we're going to get participation from the administration in the hearings, but we're finding out that the ambassador Stevens that was there was actually doing a form of Iran-Contra. They were funneling arms from Libya through Turkey and back into Syria, and that's why he was there. And and then you have the administration who openly supports the rebels in Syria, and call them what they are. They call them rebels. I call them Al Qaeda. They are. And if you don't have to go far. I know Facebook. There was a time where they were blocking the videos, but now they're allowing them to stay. There's horrific videos. And I just got to tell people, you got to see that this is who our government is supporting. Not me. I would, they're monsters as far as I'm concerned. But this is who our government's supporting. They're cutting out, and this is not propaganda, people. You got to go out and see that it's there. They're cutting out hearts of children, and they're beheading people. And this is money, and our government, this administration, is funneling money to them. Giving them the money to do that, which is scary. And it's unbelievable. So, but we're kind of getting off topic. So we talked about school. We talked about some of the charismatic figures, especially in Soviet Russia and the United States. And we talked about some of the changes going on. I don't care. You can give us the dire warning. Kind of let us know. Because I don't think America, we've lost touch with Russia because it's been so romanticized in popular film and stuff. Let's kind of go back to your childhood, and let's kind of explain, what it was like and what we have to look forward to if we continue down this path.
Well, basically, there are things that you see through the eyes of a kid. And all equal society, just to give a brief, all equal society, I was a Soviet Jew. I grew up in Ukraine. So you say that everybody is equal. But as we saw in some of the items, and we already seen here, that there is no such thing as a forced equality. So I was a Soviet Jewish kid. My parents' passport stated that they were Jewish. That means that Judaism was considered a nationality. And I wasn't even religious. I didn't even know Judaism was a religion until I came here. The only reason I knew I was Jewish, and I was reminded of it every single day, because I either got called some names or I got beaten just for being a Jewish. So that's the first part of forced government equality. Then you got, of course, as a kid, you go to school, you wear a uniform, which is fine. I mean, listen, I mean, if you have to do it, you have to do it. We have Catholic schools here, but that's your choice. Over there, you don't have a choice. So you wear a uniform, and you basically praise Lenin, you praise the revolution. When you're a kid, you wear a star of Lenin. When you get a few years older, in about third or fourth grade, you wear this Russian sort of like a necktie, and it's like a scarf necktie, and it's red, and it's the color of blood lost during the revolution. You're told that revolution is the best thing that happened to us. Lenin was the best person, and he's like, I mean, basically you praise these people because there is no religion. And there is a reason why Soviet society was atheist, because if you praise God, there's no way you can praise this or idolize these people and the government that was built for your own good benefit, so to speak. So now you look at your society, and you know you're not living in the best society. You don't know why, because you just hear stories, oh, in America, people can do whatever they want. They can go buy whatever they want. But this is minor things of freedom. Just a basic freedom, like I mentioned before. You see these problems that in school you have to behave certain way and speak certain way, because if you say something, let's say you make a joke. Let's take a simple example. You make a joke about, at the time Brezhnev was the premier of Soviet Union. So let's say you made a joke and somebody listened to the joke and didn't report you. So now they call them 3 to 5 jokes. The reason they call them 3 to 5 is you got 5 years in jail for telling a joke and 3 years for listening. So even if you're part of the group and somebody's telling a joke and you think, oh, that's stupid, you're not supposed to talk about it, you can get us in trouble. If you didn't report them, and of course with kids they might have done, slightly different, but with adults it was called 3 to 5 years jokes. And that's the type of society, more or less. I mean, you literally have a sort of false sense of freedom. So you think you're free because you can go to a park, you can buy things when they're in the store, but in reality, you're always being watched. They used to say in Russia, walls have ears. And I'll tell you a quick joke just to finish this little story and segment. There was a joke that somebody knocks on the door, and the person says, who's at the door? They go, we're KGB. He goes, what do you want? He goes, we just want to talk. He goes, how many are you? They go, there are 2 of us. He goes, so talk to each other. Because as soon as you open the door, they're not just coming in to say hello. And, that's the problem in Russia. You never knew what you might say, what you might do that might affect you or your family.
Yeah, and that's scary. I mean, we're starting to see that here in the United States. If you don't believe a certain way, you're put on a watch list. If I can tell you this. This is our 12th episode. We did our second episode, our second episode that we did, and this is no joke, and I actually shared this with some listeners today. I did the show highly critical of this administration, highly critical. Said some things that were some would deem inflammatory. Most of the stuff we say is inflammatory to liberals, but this was pretty inflammatory. This is no joke. I've lived in the house that I live in now for 5 years, going on 5 years. I do know most of the law enforcement in this town and everything, because we do live in a smaller town here in Wisconsin. 2 days after doing the show, I get a knock on the door. I go to my door, and there's gang unit literally gang unit police officers standing outside my door. And I'm like, what the heck is all this about? What's going on? Does something happen that I need to be aware about? And so I open the door and I shake the officer's hand, and everything. And he goes, he goes, are you the only one that lives here? I'm like, no, I mean, I live here with my family. And he's like, do you know so-and-so? And I'm like, no, I've never, who else lives here? And I'm like, well, it's myself and, my wife and my daughter and, and so he started doing it. And here they are, they're all standing at my door and they've got, other officers. They're talking to my neighbors. My neighbors are out looking, going, what the heck's going on? What did Jeff do? And I'm looking at them and I'm like, why? And they said, well, we have a gang member who listed this as your address. And I'm like, oh, really? So, I'm like, okay, obviously a mistake. But then I was, and he had a picture in his hand on a piece of paper and he showed it to me. And I'm like, I don't know this guy. Never seen him. I can tell, I've never seen him in the neighborhood. I don't even know who he is. And so then, he was like, well, just, do you mind if we come in? And I'm like, yeah, I do, to be honest with you. I don't know the guy and stuff. And so the officer, he was standing there on my doorstep. And so finally I just, I sat there and I said, well, can I see the picture again? See if I maybe recognize him, maybe because, there's a barber shop down the street. Maybe I've seen him there or something that I go to. So I said, can I see the picture again? And the officer, when he flipped, he had it flipped over because he thought our conversation was over. When he flipped it back over, on the back of the paper, I caught a glimpse of it. I look at these things. It literally had my name. It said Jeff Norton. It had my address on the back of this paper. And I was, yeah, exactly. And I'm sitting there going, and I'm like, okay, this is how we're going to play this, and I saw it and like I said, I've never had a problem with the law, never had, any issues or anything. And, all of a sudden I got this gang unit sitting on my doorstep, in their black, in their outfits and everything, and talking to my neighbors, asking them who lives here and everything. And like I said, is that, he had a picture, so, it looked legitimate, but the one and further, I asked him, I said, well, can I see the picture? And like I said, when he flipped it back over, because he kind of rolled it up when he was leaving, because he thought it was the end of the conversation. When he unrolled it, of course, he unrolled it as a piece of paper, that was printout. He unrolled it and he unrolled it to the clear side because he had it halfway folded in half, and it had my name and my address on it. And I'm like, whoa, and this is, coincidence maybe, and I know that we publicized the podcast when we did it in the community. So, maybe that was a friendly little visit, to see what's up.
Jeff, I mean, you might think it's just a coincidence, maybe not. I'll tell you something really quick. One of my jobs is on weekends that, I do limo driving. I figure it's a nice source of income. I enjoy driving. I'm a big kid. I actually like it a lot. I have a customer, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he was telling me a story, and this is a guy that's not involved in politics. We never talk politically, and I know him already for a while, so we can discuss something, but we don't. We just talk about kids, his family, this and that. And every time I see him, he's being pulled away by TSA because he's on some list. And he asked them, he goes, excuse me, but what kind of list is this? They go, we have to pull you over. Now, this guy travels a lot on business, so he has a reason to travel, but he's on some list, and now every time he goes through, and let me tell you, when you look at this guy, he's just a typical American family man. And he travels a lot, so I'm sure they already have a record that this guy is no danger to anybody. But for some reason, he made it on some kind of a list. And now every time he goes through the system, I mean, his family goes through, and he gets pulled aside, and they question him for like 40 minutes because he's on the list, and nobody will tell him what list it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's I shared with you earlier. I had a buddy that that was it was funny. I'll let you know, he was actually my flight instructor, and that's how I met the guy. And then we actually teamed up, to do some work, and he's from Iran, or his family's from Iran. He was actually born here in the United States. He's an American citizen. He still has his family's last name, and we became friends because I wanted to learn how to fly, and he actually did a pilot school. And so, like I said, when we would travel, he's a pilot and commercial pilot. He went to Emory-Riddle down in Florida, so he's got the credentials. So it was, like I said, it was funny. We were getting on going to get on a plane, and he's on a list. And people don't realize that affects people. If that's your job, and his job was to deliver an airplane with me. And the thing is that it was crazy. He was on this list where he couldn't get on the plane to do his job, and that's devastating when TSA or whoever shows up at your office, and they started questioning, and I heard of this where they, not the TSA but different agencies within our government, start questioning you and everything because of your speech or what you say. Someone got wind of it. In Chicago, it's very huge right now, obviously, because you got the president's second home there. So if you say anything derogatory, I know of a young man in a high school who made a comment in Facebook here in Wisconsin. He made a comment on his Facebook page that, the president needs to watch out. That's how people get killed. I'm not saying, so I get the knock on the door tomorrow by the Secret Service. But he made that comment on Facebook. It was inappropriate, absolutely. But of course, he had Secret Service at his school. He had all sorts of different things. It's crazy. We've gotten to the point where we just completely lost reason. But then again, like I said, I'm a firm believer that this is all by design. This isn't by happenstance. This is by design. This is their way of letting us know that they are in control. Letting us know that they definitely have us, and there's nothing we can do.
Absolutely. This is part of the plan. The plan is in action, and they want to expand government. They want to expand control. Even look at the simple law that they passed, that if somebody has security personnel, you're not allowed to have free speech exercised around this person who's being protected by security personnel. So now basically it protects Obama from anybody saying anything to him at the town hall meeting. Not to mention any other politicians or anybody who has security personnel. Now, of course, people might argue this point and say, well, people create diversion, a president can get hurt or somebody can get hurt. But in reality, what did they just do? They basically limited what Joe the Plumber did when he went to Obama at the town hall and he asked him questions. So now you're not allowed to ask Obama any questions because of this little maneuver that they pulled on our First Amendment rights.
Well, let's talk about it. So a lot of the listeners, let me kind of do the backstory here. What we're talking about actually is a law that was signed into law. It used to be where there were certain free speech zones where you had to be in a certain zone. Now the law that was signed, this was done about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, the law that was signed in the thing is that wherever there's Secret Service present, you cannot protest. And that's the law. And what even makes it worse is the fact that if you are arrested, you could be charged with a felony, which is mandatory jail time, which if you're a gun owner there's a couple of things that happen to you when you are charged with a felony in the United States. Number one, you lose the right to have firearms, number one. Number two, you lose the right to vote. So how do you knock out your opposition? When they protest you lock them up. And that's exactly, it's scary, but the fact that they're going to charge you with a felony, and this is something that's been just eating at me, and a lot of people need to know this. And a lot of patriots don't know this. Remember when Obama first got elected, or was doing the rally when he was running against McCain. And there was a rally I believe it was in your neck of the woods, New Hampshire or somewhere around there, where there was a gentleman who had an AR-15 in the crowd. You remember that?
I remember something. I don't remember the details. I do recall something.
Yeah, there was a gentleman, and Rachel Maddow and all of the pundits out there were just up in arms, pun intended. But they were all up in arms. They were like, how can a man come to, he was at a Tea Party member, and, he's coming to the rally, and he's got his AR-15 near the president, and those racists, they're doing it because they're racist, and, they go on and on, right? There's calling, this person. Do you know one thing that they failed to do? Or one thing that it's not that they failed to do it, they intentionally misled the American people. Do you know what that was?
What?
When they showed the picture of the gentleman with they didn't show it, but when there was the gentleman who had the AR, he was African American.
Well, listen, I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt, but remember they were saying that they were claiming that Tea Party is racist. Up to this date, they still have to prove a picture or a video or any soundbite where any Tea Party member actually did anything that was racist.
Yep.
They just said it, and people, of course, said, oh, Tea Party is evil. In the meantime, look at Occupy Wall Street. They were rioting, they were destroying, they were raping, they were stealing, and yet they were spontaneous. But Tea Party, without a single shred of evidence, they're racist.
Breitbart actually gave up $100,000 and said that if you can show me a video, if you can show me one video where the N-word was ever used, I will give you $100,000. Breitbart, he was very clear about that. It first started out 10,000 and stuff, and of course they couldn't produce. But then lo and behold, 2 weeks later, Breitbart produces a video with one of the agriculture singers say, they got her on video where she, African American, where she's saying that, basically she was forced to help this white guy, and she refused to do it. And of course, all the people in the crowd are all like, it was almost like a sermon. I don't want to get into race baiting. That's not what we're about. But the reality of it is you're absolutely right. There is a huge distrust of this government. There is a huge, I just want to say distrust. And they've given us every reason to. But every rally that I've watched, every rally that I've been at, I've never heard a racial slur, number one. If I do, I will be the first one to say that's inappropriate. I don't want nothing, get the heck away from me. You need to leave. That's inappropriate. I'll be the first one to say, because you'll probably find that those guys are the agitators that were put there by the police or by different agencies to agitate the crowd. The other thing too is you raise a great point. I've yet to see a Tea Party rally that was in violence. Not one. But if you look at any kind of left, liberal, I just say, rally or whatever, it always ends in violence. I've yet to see a non-peaceful rally on that side. You look at 99, you're right. There was rape, drug abuse. There was, all sorts of depravity going on in those camps. There was destruction of property. There was, all this stuff. And it's amazing. The only violence, let's talk, the vets this weekend, or 2 weekends ago, that marched on Washington, D.C. The only violence I saw was by the police who were trying to agitate people, And
they were agitating who? People who are like veterans who are like 60, 70, 80 years old.
Yeah.
This is insane. They pick on the targets that they choose to pick because of the political affiliation, nothing else. It's an outright war on political affiliation.
And that harkens back to what you grew up with. If you don't agree with the party, they would crush you. They had perestroika, the media and stuff, and the Pravda and all of that would destroy you in the media. It was so sad to watch. Like I said, and a lot of Americans don't realize that. At the same time that was going on, you had immigrants that were chaining themselves up to fences in Arizona and New Mexico to keep the buses from leaving to deport, illegal aliens, and everything. And the police they allowed it to happen. They didn't say anything about it. they shut down the government mall, to peaceful protest. But when the immigrants wanted to do their protest, the mall opened up and allowed them there at Washington, D.C. to do it. You're absolutely right. This administration, as long as you're preaching their message, go forth. They'll allow you to, but the minute you're not, sound familiar? I mean, does that sound familiar?
It's absolutely so true. I mean, they truly don't want anybody opposing them. I mean, this is the most unprecedented person we ever had. And I'm not picking on Obama. I'm picking on his tactics to divide and conquer. I mean, they cannot win or push their agenda if people are united pro-United States. Now, as I always say, as Democrats and Republicans, we have a two-party system, and we always disagreed on the issues. But now it seems like he hijacked the party, him and his supporters. They hijacked the party, and they're pushing an ideology. And you can never win if people are united. So that's why they create all kinds of divisions. That's why you see every case where Obama injects himself into very unprecedented things. He always does it for one reason, to divide people and have an argument deflection away from himself.
Yep. I'm a firm, I agree with you 100%. I mean, all of these issues, be it immigration, be it, war, be it whatever, it's all about moving the eye of the American people off of the government and onto each other. I mean, I think there's eventually, and this is what we try to talk here, there's a segment of the American people that, like the Socialist Party, that you're never going to move, right? And the reason why they are so entrenched into the party is because they get benefit from the party. The minute they no longer get benefit, you'll see them coming over. That's why the actors and all of those people, are so entrenched. It's easy to say, we need to help other people by taking from other people and giving to other people when your mouth is full. It's very easy to have that mindset. And that's, so these actors out there and stuff, I give very little credence to what they say. Same with athletes. It's amazing. You see these athletes who score touchdowns, hit home runs, and it's great that they have their religious beliefs. And I support that and everything. But do you really think God cares? There's so much suffering going on in the world today. So I don't, but the reality of it is that you're always going to have a group of a group of people, as long as they're getting the full benefit of their actions, you're not going to change them. What we're about here is, and to the point on the other side is that, I'm not speaking to the true patriots, because I know they're already there. I mean, this show is geared towards the people that are in the middle, who know something's wrong, but they don't know how to break free of that media controlled brainwashing that goes on and stuff. And that's what we're geared towards here. And it's amazing, I think people need to realize, and that's why, we're having this conversation, is that you've seen it, you witnessed it, you grew up in it, and you're seeing it here in the United States. I mean, it's not like it's a undertone or whatever. I mean, it's out there in mainstream, and it's great to have you on the show and, to talk about this, to give American people insight that this is not, this is, you're seeing similarities between us now and what you left and everything. And that's
Thank
amazing.
you, Jeff. Yeah, I hope people realize, I mean, this is not scare tactics. I did not pick a party because I wanted to be a Republican or because my parents were Republican. My parents actually didn't know what the parties are. I picked a party because I believe in the principles that made this country great. And if I see those principles being destroyed by either party, I will speak out against that. I mean, I vote Republican because I truly appreciated Ronald Reagan, what he has done for America, what he has done for the world. And I mean, I saw that two differences. I didn't know about politics, but I saw two differences. That Democrat Party was encouraging people not to benefit themselves, and Republican Party was providing opportunity. So I chose to be a Republican, but not to say that a Democrat cannot do right or wrong. I mean, in either case, and the Republican cannot do right or wrong. It's just we need to protect what made this country incredible and amazing and the most exceptional nation in the world. And I hope people realize that they need to appreciate their country more than what they say about their own country, that it's been evil. We don't need to change fundamentally anything. We need to save it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had the fortune of traveling and stuff. We still live in the greatest country, as far as I'm concerned, in the world. And I have hope. I have hope that we will come together as a nation and stuff. So, wow, can you imagine? We've been talking 2 hours. This is what happens.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's been a great conversation.
This is an awesome
conversation. And
awesome.
You're right. We'll overcome. We overcame as a country, as people. I mean, American people are so resilient. I mean, it's amazing. We just have to come together. We have to understand that fighting each other is not going to save us. Protecting a man in the White House is not going to save us. We need to expose him. And if he's up, listen, when Obama won 2008 election, I put my head down and I said, look, if he's going to do great for this country, I'll be the first to say I was wrong. But I was not wrong in this man. I was never wrong.
Yeah, this is, and I'm the same way. I was hoping too that maybe we would have a unique, exceptional president in the office, and come to find out, he's exactly what everybody warned us about and everything. So, so our listeners, we're at the second hour. For those that are listening to Blog Talk Radio, we're going to drop off. If you want to continue to listen, go out to www.themidnightpatriot.com. There's a Spreaker app there that you can press on. It's actually high fidelity, 128K stereo. It's a little bit better quality. So for those that are on Blog Talk Radio, you can join us at Spreaker.com or on our website, www.themidnightpatriot. Now, we got right into the topic. I mean, let's do a little promotion of your book here. I mean, obviously, the title of your book is After Tastes and Tales from Russia. Forgive me for not being anti-socialism, correct?
For being anti-socialism.
Ism, that's right. There's some dots there and stuff. Is this your first book? Is this
Yes.
Sure.
It's actually my first book, and the reason I actually say it in the book, you might have seen it already. I didn't really want to write a book. I felt like I had to, because it got to the point where I was speaking out so much, and I was trying to make people understand, not force them to understand, but talk to people, make them understand. And when people ask me similar questions and similar type of situations, I said, you know what? I mean, instead of sitting there and typing all day long, why don't I put something into a package that people can actually take and maybe read? And my whole success behind the book would have been if I changed one mind. If one mind read the book and truly understood what I'm trying to do and said, you know what, maybe he's right. And that would just be a success in itself. And that's one of the reasons I decided to write this book. I mean, I truly believe that this nation need to realize what we're losing and instead what we're not gaining. And we're not gaining anything by going in this direction.
No, I think your goal has already been accomplished. Reading the short amount that I was able to read and everything with everything else we were doing, I mean, you're absolutely, I mean, I don't know how you could read your book and know what, like I said, is, America, and I think this is intentional. There's such a romanticism in the media and in the movies and all of that stuff with RTTV and all of that, about but people got to understand that just a short period in history ago, this country was oppressive to its people. It was, not, and it was everything that us, us constitutional loving free people were for, this country was against. And I think you clearly kind of bring that back up and kind of say, make us remind us, of what it was like and everything. And so now your book is available, obviously, in electronic format. You can also get it. It is on Amazon, correct?
It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. If you type After Tastes and Tales from Russia, you will see numerous places where you can purchase the book. In some places you can find discounts. Maybe you have your own discounts on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And also you can get it in softcover and e-format. So you can get it in Nook, Kindle, and Google Books has an e-format as far as the e-book. And you can find it in many different locations. What I recommend is if you read it and you liked it, give it to a friend. Let your friend read it. Let people understand that I'm not just writing a book. I'm trying to make people see what I saw as a problem. I'm just one of the Soviets who's here, former Soviet Union born Jews who's here, but I saw problems and I wanted to speak out about those problems. So my book just to wake people up, make them understand, and hopefully they will eventually realize what we're losing as a nation.
Yeah. I mean, I got the Kindle version, and I'll tell you, I'm trying to be green here in the studio and everything because of the paper that we go through. I still like the book. We're kind of limited on getting the book over here so I can read it or go into the store and picking it up, before we did the interview. But I will let you know I will be buying a hard copy version of your book as well, because you're absolutely right. It's after you're done reading, I think it's very important to kind of pass it along and let someone else read it. And one of the things I find too with the Kindle, it's hard to do notes. I don't know. I mean, you can't write in them and stuff. And I hope you don't get mad if I write in your book and stuff, but it will be definitely a go-to piece for me when I get people that are like, oh yeah, it's not that bad. And I'm like, oh, well, hold on. Were you there? Let me go to here. Let me kind of show you what you have to look forward to. And if you think that history is going to be any different, then you're crazy. I mean, it's amazing. I was never a history person. I always used to say in high school, and even when I got into college, was, why do I have to study history? If I wait long enough, it's going to repeat itself.
That's a great statement. I heard history repeat itself, but not studying it because you will eventually see it. Yeah. That's a great statement.
And it's scary because we're seeing it again, with the fall of America. So
I mean, what you said about propaganda, I mean, this is just, I mean, they're romanticizing it in the media because it's been done in every single society. And as soon as you see media romanticizing it so much and praising the leaders, so-called leaders, so much, this is definitely a wrong direction, because you can have media maybe praise one party over the other a little bit, but when they're so blindly supporting, and Obama even attacked the media and media sources, and they still praise him, we're in trouble.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what's really scary, I guess, for me, and is that and I'll tell you, I mean, I read RT. I mean, a lot of people don't know. I mean, a lot of people do know this or don't know this, but RT is the Russian news service. And I'll read their stories because, unfortunately, I can't get the truth in our mainstream media here in the United States. And it's amazing that you read, it was the UK Mail that just did an article on the First Lady and her lavish trips. You talk about, we talked about this earlier, that the masses have to live a certain way, but the king and queen, get to live another way. And, they were talking about her expenditures just last year alone in the trips and everything that she takes and the shopping sprees and stuff. And it's amazing. And you don't get that in the United States. Under United States, you have to go to other sources like RT or the UK Mail, or J-Post and stuff like that. You have to go to the foreign desk to get that information. It's just crazy. So
it is absolutely insane. And I mean, of course, on the last trip that cost about $100 million, they saved us $20 because they cut it short by a day.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. So, hey, Jake, I'm going to put you on the spot because, I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to put you on the spot. If I get 10 books, can I buy books directly from you?
No, I don't sell books directly. And I appreciate you asking, but I do not sell them directly because I have to order my copies most of the time like everybody else.
Okay.
So I suggest if you really, I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you. But if you really just go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, because you'll have the same opportunity to get them as you would from me.
Well, what I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to put you on the spot. So what I'm going to do is if I buy those from Amazon or Barnes & Noble, if I buy 10 of them from you or from them, and I send them to you, I get your address later. If I send them to you, can you sign those? And then what we'll do is we'll use those as gifts and stuff for our show.
Absolutely. I would gladly do that. In fact, if you have specific names, if you have people who, let's say, win some raffle or some kind of a contest on your show, I can even address it directly to those names, and I can put their names when I sign them.
Absolutely. Wonderful. I appreciate it. So for all of our listeners out there, we are actually talking with Jake Danishevsky. Did I get it right? Close?
It's Danishevsky, but yeah, you're close. You're
close.
getting there.
I'm sorry. I do apologize.
It's okay.
And
trust me. You did better than telemarketers do.
Okay. but we're talking with author. I mean, first-time author. I mean, excellent book. If you guys really want to see where we're going or possibly going in the United States, I mean, there was a great contrast and parallelism here going on in this book. I mean, it's a must read. You have to read it. I just started reading. I'm enthralled with it. It's not difficult to read. It's more of a conversational kind of like style. Excellent book. And of course we're going to put a link up on our website to Barnes and Noble or Amazon, so that people can actually order directly from our website. So with that, we've been talking to, I know you've got to be tired because you're on the East Coast. And it's that witching hour for you guys over there, staying with the October theme here, the witching hour. Is there anything you'd like to add? Is there, did we miss anything?
No, we did great. I just want to once again thank you and your listeners, because I know, like you said, we've been talking for a couple of hours. It's been great. First of all, I really appreciate it. I'm honored, even though you're going to say that, the honor is mutual, but I am truly honored to speak to you, to your listeners. And I'll be more than glad to speak to you again if you'd like to. Sure. And I just want this country back at its greatness, where we can create opportunity, make money. Yes, greed is good, because if you're greedy to support your family, that's a good greed. I mean, because if you're greedy to take from others, that's wrong. That's a wrong direction. So if you want to support your family and live in the greatest country in the world, you still are. You just have to try to save it. That's all it is. Absolutely.
So I appreciate it. To you and your family, hope you guys, be safe, be well, and everything. I know that you said you're Jewish. You're not practicing. Are you Christian, Jewish, Orthodox?
No, I'm Jewish. No, I practice. I go to a synagogue. I'm not
do you?
Orthodox. I'm not. But when I came to America, I was introduced to Judaism, and I do believe there is God. I believe there's certain responsibility we have towards ourselves, towards our fellow man, and towards God. I mean, we are on this planet. However you want to believe in it, whether you believe in God or not, it's your freedom to do so, and I believe in that freedom. So I choose to believe in God.
All right. Well, then you guys have a good Shabbat coming up, right?
Thank you. Yes, we will, definitely.
Absolutely. I'm learning. That's the Chicago influence on me. You learn that.
That's great. Thanks, Jeff. And you have great holidays coming up. I mean, we got Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. My favorite holiday in the world.
Oh, it is mine too. It's mine too. And if you saw me, you would see why. I love food.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm mutually the same. I mean, but thank you. Thanks a lot. And, I mean, God bless you, your family, your listeners. I mean, I truly, like I said, I mean, this nation is the best nation in the world. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget that.
I thank you. Thank you very much, and we appreciate it. And it's people like you that make this country a great country. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about your immigration experience when you were a kid and stuff. That's for a future show. So I appreciate it, and God bless you guys. And hopefully, I'll finally get to meet you face to face. I look forward to it. And I'll get those books out to you, because I think that, we want to start giving those out to some of our listeners out there and stuff. So thank you, my friend. Yep. Thank you, my friend. Be well. So you've been listening to the Midnight Patriot. If you want to join us on the web, you can go to www.themidnightpatriot.com. Wow, what an interview. See, this is why we created this show, is to give people a voice who normally wouldn't have a voice, to allow them to share their experiences and stuff. You don't have to be an author. You don't have to be a famous person. You don't have to be, a political pundit or whatever to be on the Midnight Patriot. Actually, we would prefer that if we just want people. We want Americans. We want, people from diverse cultures, from foreign lands. We want them to be part of this show. So if you want to contribute to the show, or if you want to, if you have something to say, we're going to take a small break. I got to take a break. We've been talking for 2 hours. Give everybody else a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some of the things in the news, and then we'll be taking calls. Now, if you want to call into the show, you can call in. Now, we changed our numbers. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but on our website, we changed our numbers. We got rid of the Blog Talk Radio number because the quality just wasn't there. So our new number is 262-997-0607. That's 262-997-0607. That's a higher quality number. If you want to join us also, when we get back from the break, you can join us on Skype at The Midnight Patriot. Our Skype is The Midnight Patriot. So we're going to take, like I said, we're going to take a small break. We're going to be talking about the news. We're going to be talking about Forbes' report about how GDP has been flat or negative for the last 5 years. We're going to talk about the 90,000 plus or 90 million plus Americans who are not part of the labor pool anymore. There's so much news. I mean, the news cycle today there's still kind of slow, but there's still a lot to talk about. So with that, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we'll open up the lines and we'll take your calls.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
We were told nothing could be done to enjoy these final moments together.
But in that moment, when all seemed lost,
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital gave us hope.
Because at this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care. We're changing the way the world treats childhood cancer by sharing our discoveries with doctors and scientists everywhere.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and join St. Jude in finding cures and saving children. Visit stjude.org.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
listening to the Midnight Patriot. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. If you'd like to join us on the web, go to www.themidnightpatriot.com. You can always listen to our live show right there with our Spreaker app. If you have a mobile device, you can download Spreaker. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, we put a button there so you can download, and you can actually listen to us live on your mobile devices as well. We are listed in iTunes, so you can join us in iTunes and also listen. Look, I want to say this. We got about 40 minutes left in this segment. Excellent interview. You know, that's exactly what we're looking for at the Midnight Patriot here, you know, to get the participation here. You know, Jake's an author, first-time author, getting him on the show. Excellent book. If you have an opportunity to read it, it's a really good book. It'll open up your eyes to a lot of things. But if you want to join us into the conversation now, some of our numbers have changed. So for some of you guys that had us on speed dial or whatever, you need to change it. The new number is 262-997-0607. That's 262-997-0607 to call in. You can also join us via Skype. At our Skype name is The Midnight Patriot. Those lines are open and everything. So let me do a little, you know, we try to limit our plugs here to the last hour. I've been told by the network we need to do that at the beginning. But, you know, so for those that don't know, the Midnight Patriot, this is our 12th show. We grew from 0 listeners to with all of the different feeds that we have through Spreaker, through SoundCloud, through Blog Talk Radio, and all of those. We have been doubling our listenership pretty much every show. So it's phenomenal. We're growing. It's getting out there. And the only way that we can do that is by listeners like you. If you like the show, this is a show for you. So if there's things that you believe it or not, you can like us on Facebook, friend us on Facebook, the Midnight Patriot. We're out there. I spend a lot of time out there during the day. We're open for suggestions. There's a lot of things that we've changed. Like one of the things is the bumper music. You know, we now have, Madison Rising is going to be doing, it's going to be our official music of the Midnight Patriot. So we're going to be changing out the bumper music there. You know, that was one of the feedback. Some of the other feedback was the Patriot segment that we do at the very beginning for our fallen soldiers. You know, these are segments that, that you, the listeners, text me during the day or contact me during the day and say they would like to add. The other thing too is articles, news stories, those things. So for those that don't know, I wasn't an insider. With my background, I wasn't part of the TSA or NSA or any of the CIA or any of those three. I mean, I did consulting work, for different agencies, for companies who did consulting work for government agencies. So I know how the inner workings go. And I was awoken. I mean, I have to give a lot of credit to Alex Jones. Listening to his shows, first listening to him on Coast to Coast AM as I was up at night working, and then, going to InfoWars and stuff. So I have to, say thank you, Alex, for waking me up, for giving me the motivation to do and to carry and to build this audience in the show. And one of the conversations that came about that, and we're going to talk about that. I promise that we're going to talk about cellular. There was a post on Alex Jones, and I'll tell you how that works and what's going on there, and everything. But getting back to supporting our efforts here. Obviously, you can support us in one of two ways. I mean, we do have advertising space. We do have advertising ability, 30-second or 60-second clips. So if you own a business and you would like to advertise on the Midnight Patriot, you can send me an email, Jeff, Jeff, at themidnightpatriot.com. Give me your contact information. I'll be in touch with you. There's two parts of advertising that you can do. You can do a banner ad. I mean, our biggest banner ad on the side runs about $5 a month. Very reasonable. The other thing that you get with that ad is every time you do an advertisement with us for $5 a month, we will do either a 30-second or a 60-second ad within the podcast. So every time this podcast is downloaded and everything, people that will buy your products will listen to your advertisement. And it's direct target marketing. I mean, most of the people that are in the Patriot movement, there's specific things that they're looking for. And so if you own a business or whatever and you want to advertise, just, get in touch with me, Jeff at themidnightpatriot.com. The other way that you can support us is tell your friends about us. Send them links to our shows. Download the show on iTunes and everything. We are part of Spreaker Network. Now, Spreaker Network has a relationship with iHeartRadio. And one of the things that we can do is as we grow our business, it is a business, but as we grow this broadcast and we expand, and everything, we have an opportunity to go on the iHeart Network system, which is 180 million potential listeners. That's huge. That is huge. We can be the only voice on mainstream media from 9 until midnight in America. That's huge. Alex Jones has the midday. We want to own the night, the 9 to 12. For all of those working men and women that are working second and third shifts, the truck drivers out there, the military, law enforcement, all of those. So we have the ability, the factory workers, to be a voice for the Patriot movement during that hour. Because the only way that we're actually really going to truly affect change is by blocking out mainstream media. The stories that they don't want to report on, the truth behind Obamacare, the fact that doctors are being dropped from the system, the fact that your premiums are doubling in most cases, the fact that obviously the system doesn't work, but the fact that that you're being charged as you go into the doctor. These are things that the doctors don't, or that the mainstream media is not talking about. The fact that people are getting notices. 300,000 went out in Florida this week where they're being dropped from their health care and they have to participate in the exchange if they want to carry health care. Yeah, these are things that you don't hear about. And these are the things that you will hear about here at the Midnight Patriot. So like I said, if you're not a business owner and you can't give a financial contribution, which I understand, I get that. And so the best way that you can support us is repost our feeds, repost our shows. Tell your friends about us. Help us build the audience so that we can grow this to where we want to grow. Now, my promise to you is the way that we've structured this business. I mentioned the word business, so let's just clear the air here. We structured this business to be what it is now. The only difference between now and in the future is the amount of listeners we have. We're not going to change. We have no desire to be a TV studio or to have a writing staff or anything like that. What you see is what you get. We want to be very close to those people that that we service, the Patriots out there. So you'll always be able to contact us directly. Myself, we will be bringing on a producer to help me with the board and everything. But other than that, it's a one-man show. To do the callers. Now, one of the changes that we are doing is that we are going to a digital hybrid system, which we're investing about $2,000 to $3,000 in the system, and the phone bill is going to run about $100 to $200 a month for the digital hybrid. That will allow us to take more callers during the show and actually have a little bit better product. So we're committed to this. Obviously, with our relationship with Spreaker, SoundCloud, and all of those, we definitely have enough bandwidth to service our base. So we've got that down. But the next big piece of equipment that we are is the hybrid. We're going to get away from the audio there on Blog Talk Radio. Great service for what it's for, but we've grown. We need our clients, our customers, our listeners. You are our clients. Are more, want better quality. And I understand that. And we want to give you the best quality show that we can. And with that, too, if there's a suggestion that you have for us, let us know. Text me, email me. You'll be surprised. I do answer those. on Facebook. That's the best way to reach me. But you can email me. I'll get back to you, within a half a day or so. And everything. So give us your suggestions. So with that, let's talk a little bit. There was a posting up on InfoWars. And, what's going on, or what a lot of cellular users are experiencing, is they get what they call ghost calls. In the industry, they're called ghost calls. What these calls are is they're test calls. Now, let me kind of explain to you how the cellular network works, right? The cellular network is when you have a cell phone, your cell phone is a radio for, cellular frequency to that cell tower. Now, it consistently pings that tower. It consistently tells that tower, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. It's called ping pong, basically. Ping pong. It's send a request, get a response. Now, the government can track where you're at this through simple triangulation. So if they got 3 towers, right, and your radio signal is on tower A, but it's also picked up at tower B, the strength in which because whenever you use radio and stuff, they only have that. When you listen to radio station, they tell you it's a 10,000 watt radio station. That's the amount of power. So every time someone connects to that, it diminishes the power. So what they're able to do, or what cellular phone companies, if you ever wonder how they're able to track you without your GPS being turned on, is that they can triangulate between the 3 towers. They only need 3 towers. And they can measure the distance, the time that it takes to do the ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong. And they can judge that, and they can use that, and they can pretty much within a few yards determine where you're at. That's how they're able to do it. That's how they're able to track you with your cell phone. Now, a lot of cell phones now will have power restrictions because of battery. Cell phones are no longer just cell phones. They're small personal computers. And because of power restrictions, they'll slow that down, that ping pong, that constant communication back to the towers. And also one of the things too that they, but that's the main thing. But when they send these signals out to you, the government's already said that they want to have a system in which the government can push messages to your phone. Big brother, right? They can push messages to your phone. So part of, their testing of these systems is what they'll do is it's a term that they'll light it up. In other words, they'll push a message in an area, and they'll see how quick they can distribute those messages. Because what happens is your phone will get the message and respond. Unlike a ping pong where it's saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, ping pong, what it will do is it'll say, I'm here and I got your message. So when they send these, as reported on InfoWars, where they're pushing out these phone numbers, these ghost calls, what they're doing, it could be a function of a test of the network. They could probably be checking capacity on a tower, saying, all right, how many cellular phones? Because you got to remember, the ping pong is one thing, but now you got to send traffic over the cellular and everything. So what they'll do is they'll send a message, and they'll light, and basically they call it lighting up the network. And they're going to basically get back, okay, we have these many phones in this geographic location. That's what they're doing. Now, there's questions about, can they put information on it? Absolutely. They can. Intel actually has a chip, called a backdoor chip, in most computer devices now, where they can actually turn your computer on while you're sleeping. Don't even have, it has its own power supply, doesn't need, it works off the phantom power off your computer, and they have access to that. Absolutely, they can do it. They can turn your phone on without you. The only way that you can protect yourself, truly, even turning your phone off and even undoing your battery might not be enough. And let me tell you why, because a lot of those things have cache batteries in them to keep the cache on. So the old trick of taking your battery out is not going to work. So what you want to do, there's two things you can do. The first and easiest thing is that you can get yourself an RFID or blocker. It's basically a Faraday cage. It's a magnetic, or not a magnetic, but it's a metal mesh, like a screen. And what that does is that jams up the radio frequency. It's called a Faraday cage. Now there's RF blockers. You can buy, wallets. You can, I know Alex sells them, but they're out there on the internet. That's one way of doing it. Now, if you're so concerned that the government's tracking you, this is the other way you can do it. And we talked about this is a little bit of tradecraft, what we call tradecraft. And, you guys might as well know a little bit here. So what you can do is you can, go down to a gas station or any kind of store. Don't go to the same store that you're going to buy your phone at, but go to a gas station or whatever. Get yourself one of those instant debit cards, right? Put the money on the card. You just walk up to the counter and do it. You don't have to, put your name on it or anything like that. So you get that card. Don't do it at the same store. Don't do it at Walmart if you're going to go get the phone. Then what you do is you put the money on the card, right? You then go to Walmart and you buy yourself what they classically call a burner cell phone. And you pay with that debit card. Now, every month, of course, when you do the debit card, they're going to want you can still pay the services with that card that you have in your hand, that you put money on cash. But eventually, they're going to want you to put in your name and all that so they can send you a card with your name on it. But then they know who you are because they have your address. So every month, you can actually just go to the gas station, get another credit card or whatever, go to different gas stations and get those cards and then pay for your cell phone, right? Now, the trick is this, and it's a little bit more expensive. You can then sign up for a service, be it Vonage, Ring Central, One Box. There's a lot of different services out there. And they will give you, most of these phones, you get data services with them free, right? So they will give you what they call a SIP connection. SIP connection. It's a data session over IP. So what does that mean? Is that you can actually put a application on your phone, and you can then, through One Box, you can get services as low as $19 a month or $9 a month. I've seen them. You can get a phone number there. Then what you do is you put the SIP application on your phone. Now, you can even go, if you're a computer technology person, you can do an open SIP. So you're not even downloading there, so you have even more autonomy. You can then buy the service through One Box, through Vonage, through now the main thing is you got to make sure that they provide a SIP, an Android or an iPhone app. So then what you do is you buy the service, you get a phone number with that service. That's the phone number that you give out. That's the number you give out. Then you download the SIP application, you put it on your phone. What you will do is, just like Vonage at this point, you will no longer be using the cellular network to make your phone calls and to receive your phone calls. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be using the data network to get your phone calls back and forth. And the thing is that after a month or 2 months or 3 months, you can throw that cell phone out and just get another one at Walmart. But your number never changes. So that's how people can contact you. Now, you can even get more elaborate. If you have a group of friends, each one of your friends get a cell phone, put it in their, and not in their name, but, have them do the same process I told you, and then switch phones once a month. Now remember, your phone number is never changing. Your phone number never changes. It's the phone that you're changing. It's the phone that they're tracking. So that's another way. So for those people out there at InfoWars and stuff, I told you I was going to tell you how to do it. That's how you do it. Now, are you completely free? No. They can eventually track that, but that's a good start. If you still want to use it. The only way that you're truly going to be free of being tracked is get rid of your cell phone altogether. Get rid of all those electronic devices, even iPads and Galaxies and all of those tablets and stuff have tracking chips in them. So, that's how you can get away from it. So that's just my tech tip for the day. I think this is actually a good segment. We'll probably do one a day for you guys to let you know how you can do this. So you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. If you'd like to join the conversation, feel free to give us a call at 262-997-0607. That's 262-997-0607. You can download the app and listen to as you go on your mobile device and everything. Oh, that's the other thing too I want to address. We had a gentleman who talked about tracking actually on our website. I will let you know. I will tell you firsthand, the things that are out there, if you run Ghosty, that's the other thing too. It's a really good app. I'm glad he brought it up. You can download it. It's called Ghosty. It's an extension that you can put on Firefox. It will show you all of the tracking cookies and different things on when you go to a certain website. Now, our website, because it is highly reliant on social media to get the message out and stuff, you will see that any of the tracking we do is all social media related. It's so that it's not that social media or Facebook's tracking you. What it is so that you can like us and promote our shows through social media. But we do watch that. I do make sure that the code that we use in all of these ancillary products that we have to hook our website into in order to bring you the show and the content is not invasive. But like I said, if you want to block that, you can download a product called Ghosty, and that will block those. I recommend it for other products and stuff. You can still reference us or like us or whatever by just going to our Facebook page. We just tried to make it a little bit easier for you, but that's a great tip. I just want to say thanks for putting that out there and everything. So, there's a couple things we alluded to as I was talking with Jake. First thing, CNN Money, why the job report has become meaningless. They're reporting. It's amazing. They're starting to wake up. Even mainstream media, let's not get too excited though. The reason, the reason why, the report has become meaningless is because it doesn't really reflect real numbers. The government has, like everything else, has been able to manipulate the way that they report these numbers. I mean, they're pretty honest about it, believe it or not. Can you believe that? Government's honest about it. But no, if you look at the way that they determine unemployment numbers, they determine by those that are collecting unemployment, right? Believe it or not, there are a lot of Americans who are unemployed that do not collect unemployment for various reasons. It could be that they've been unemployed so long that they can't collect unemployment. It could be the fact that they do have some income other than their normal income, and that would forbid them from collecting unemployment. They have other jobs. Now, it might not be the same amount of income though that they would be making if they were fully employed in their normal course of work. You have some people who just choose not to work anymore. for whatever reason. You know, when you have all of these college kids, I mean, I don't know about your area, but in my area, I mean, to get a job at McDonald's, you have to have a college degree. Yeah, to work at McDonald's. That's how bad it is. So the housewife or the husband or whatever who would look at, you know, possibly working at McDonald's or working at some part-time store, you know, they can't even get a job there. And they're out of unemployment benefits. So they're having to cut grass, shovel snow, do all sorts of things on the side. And because they don't want to break the law, they're reporting that. Or they can't collect their unemployment. So there's a lot of reasons why the numbers really don't reflect the truth or the reality. There's 90 million people right now who aren't even that are eligible to be in the labor pool, who aren't even in the labor pool. So out of the 300 plus million people in America, you already know that 43% of those people aren't paying taxes. So that drops it down to about 150 million people, thereabouts. Don't have my calculator. Out of that, you got 90 million who aren't even in the pool. So the numbers really are meaningless. The numbers really don't reflect reality. You know, there are a lot of people who have gone back to work, as I said, doing jobs that are sub-pay, that are less than what they normally would make. But, of course, our government says, oh, yeah, they're working. Take them out of there. But they're not making what they used to make. They're having to work 2 jobs. So there's a lot of manipulation in the numbers. I think it was Mark Twain once said, lies, statistics, lies, and damn lies. Right? It's the truth. They can manipulate those any way they want to. So those aren't the real numbers. The real numbers that you should be looking at is when you know, how many people, just go in your general circle of friends, your influence of friends, and ask yourself, how many of them are working? How many are working at the careers that they went to college for? How many of them are working at the careers that they studied for all their lives? Ask yourself that. That's the real number. And then when you add it up, that will let you know. So, so you can't trust them. Now, Forbes actually came out on that note. Forbes came out today also saying that the GDP, this is how we measure the country's growth, has been flat or negative for the last 5 years. I don't know. What other event has happened for the last 5 years? Oh, that's right. Hello, Mr. President. Aren't you on your 5th term? I'm not, I am being critical. But the reality of it is, as a patriot, I don't want to see this country suffer. But the reality is there's a point in which the reality set in America. There's a point in which you got to say the man in the White House, this current administration, is not working for us. They're working against us. A good example of that is, what went on in Congress last week. The fact that the majority of the American people want government working, but they want a functional government. The American people had no idea that the minute the government opened, they were going to get tacked with a $396 billion bill, driving the debt past $17 trillion. They didn't know that when the law was going to be passed, that we didn't give a cap. We just basically said that we'll talk about it on the 7th when they talk about it. So the government has an unlimited money supply at this point. They didn't know that. They didn't know that the minute that the government opened up, that pay raises were going to go in effect retroactively for government employees. They didn't know that after government opened up, that some states allowed the government to keep their unemployment without having to pay it back. Yeah, Oregon. The American people don't know these things. You have to go to outside sources because you're not going to get it from the media. They're not going to tell you. The government didn't tell you that it was going to put members of Congress on a plane and fly them down at the taxpayer's expense to go to a funeral for a congressman. Now, I understand you want to honor people. You want to, do that. But why at our expense? Why at our expense? I mean, don't you make enough money to do that? 60 Minutes made it perfectly clear over this weekend. If you guys have an opportunity to go out to 60 Minutes website, you can watch it, about these leadership PACs, where these members of Congress are allowed to funnel money into these things called leadership PACs and are allowed to use that money in any way they want to. They're allowed to loan themselves money and then turn around and charge themselves exuberant interest rates, usury rates by the definition, all at the taxpayer expense. Yeah, American didn't know that. Us Americans who do know that, the problem is the only voice that we had just sold us down the river, or they sold us down the river. Now, I know a lot of Americans are holding up Ted Cruz as our banner for change in America. The problem is I don't know if a lot of Americans know this, that Ted Cruz's wife, it was just reported, is actually a senior VP at Goldman Sachs. Really? Really? So she actually subscribes to the belief of the corporate elite. Now, I've said this on this show at many times. The way that this country is currently running, you can either be a slave to the corporations, or corporate elite, corporations, corporate elite, New World Order, or you can be a slave to the government. But either way, you're shackled. You're still a slave. So you have to ask yourself, bait and switch? I don't know. But I do have a hard time trusting an individual who is, whose partner, and marriage is a partnership. Just like, I said earlier, President Obama, she's part of the administration. So the administration at the Cruz household, part of the administration is part of the global elite. Yeah. So you got to ask yourself. Got to do a little research. The good news is here at the Midnight Patriot, we do that research for you. So if you continue to listen, tell your friends about us, we'll do that. We'll do the heavy lifting for you. Everything that we talk about, actually, when we do the show, when we post it on our website the following day, we have our sources. So you'll have the opportunity to go out there and actually read our sources. Yeah. Talk about this, the TSA. It's been reported the TSA now has a system in place. We talked about this earlier in my conversation with Jake, the author, Jake Danish-Vesky. The TSA is now implementing a new program in which they are actually looking at you prior to you going to the airport. The scary part is that if they have the capability of looking at you when you go to the airport, when you travel prior to, days before you travel, they can look at the system. What's this system called? What other capabilities are there? Who's the oversight for this system? It's something that was just released. You know, who's in control of it? Because if the mind-numbing robots that do the TSA are the same people that are looking at my personal information, no thank you. I mean, think about it. Go to the TSA if you're looking, you know, if you look at it and stuff, look at the typical education of a TSA personnel. I wouldn't trust them with my wallet, let alone with my personal information. But hey, you know, it's just one more thing. Now, of course, we all know that Obamacare has reached out to Verizon. I mean, I got to tell my fellow patriots, what do you expect? The servers, who knows? They might save us some money. The servers are already sitting there. The NSA servers are already sitting in Verizon. So from the documents that Snowden that they produced in Greenwald. So, you know, it's only a stretch. Not hard to believe. You know, there's a call out there for all of those technology people to get involved and fix these problems. You're not going to get a phone call from me. I promise you, our system will be up and running before Obamacare is. I promise you. You know, Consumer Reports has already said to all of its members, don't use the exchange. You know, there is a deadline called December 15th. It's only going to get worse. There's only going to be more users come, you know, as the system increases, because we have, you know, not we, but you have to register if you choose to do. I'm opting out of the Obamacare. I'm not putting my personal information on that global database. That will then eventually be used to corral me or to censor me. That's the other thing, too, I want to talk to you guys about, censorship. I can promise you with this show, there is an advertiser, a person that can write me a check that will continue, that will be able to censor my speech to you. That is my promise. That's why our goal is to always keep the grow the show, but to keep the manpower where it's at. Because sometimes you have to, when you have payroll and you have those bigger bills and you have to meet those, sometimes you have to accept things that you normally wouldn't if you were a smaller shop. But I can promise you this, it will always be a two-man show. Myself and the producer, or whoever takes the screening calls. Yeah. So, what a show. It's been a great show. I want to thank everybody who participated, the guys that were texting during the show with the questions. I hope we got them answered for you. You know, you can join us here at the Midnight Patriot every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time to 11 to, you know, upwards to 12 if we have a guest at Central Standard Time. Go out to our website at www.themidnightpatriot.com for more information, news, call-in numbers, and everything. I just want to say God bless you. God bless America. If you guys need anything, you know where to reach me at Facebook, themidnightpatriot.com. And we're going to leave the show with Madison Rising. Join them, MadisonRising.com. God bless you, America, and good night.
We fell in love the moment we first met, and everything was perfect in our lives. But I'm a soldier and I won't forget. The call of duty came and I went with pride. Found myself overseas, just protecting the dreams that we